You guys, I can't even with this. Okay, so here's what happened. Okay, I know we ended the last stream with the idea of the pizza delivery murder trial. Well, I hit a snafu with that one because um, there were some. It's hard to find streams of it, so there is a particular stream on a news station, but I can't there's no rewinding it, and they only upload their live stream like once a day or something like that. So, but it seemed to be a bit chopped up. Um, so I'm gonna play that one by ear and probably start that one in a day or two based on how it um, is uploaded onto that website. I need to see. It might be an issue, a thing where um, I don't know. I'm gonna have to play that one by ear. But so that's why I didn't go live at 1 o'clock like I had intended to, right? Well, I go back into the Treehouse murder trial just to see if there was any, fist fights like we talked about, and saw that when I fast forward it, I saw that Tucker goes on the stand. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? What? I didn't know this was going to be a thing. So then I was like, okay, so I'm going to go live now and we're going to watch this mess. So that's what the plan is. And until I can get the pizza delivery murder trial streaming um, figured out, then that one's going to be put on hold, but we'll have to catch up on it. Like I said, if you're just walking in, hi Lee. If you're just walking in, um, the pizza delivery murder trial is not even being live streamed on court TV right now. They've got bits and pieces of it in chunks, like what we were watching earlier was the opening statement. So, okay, Jolie, I think you've given Poppy enough hugs. So, um, until I can figure that out, then we're going to just continue on here with what we started, right? So, are you guys ready for this? Are you ready for this? Also, the Shanda Vander Ark, um, the mom who starved her 15-year-old teenage son literally to death, is being sentenced today. So we'll have to figure out how that goes. But anyway, let's get started with this. Let me say hi, guys, real quick. Hi, hi, hi. Wonder when this was decided. I don't know, Lee. It was at the big. It had to have been at the end of where we ended, right? They were just jibber jabbering about different things, playing all of or part of, and somewhere in the mix, I guess they decided that he was going to get on the stand. So let me say hi to everybody before we get started, though. Hi, Billy. Um, this circus show. I know the trial that was started earlier, Billy. That's the one I was talking about. Having to kind of like piecemeal it together. And I don't want to have to do that, but um, because it's not being streamed on Law and Crime and it's not being streamed on Court TV. However, Court TV did just play opening statements. Well, then I found an actual live stream from a news outlet that's local to them in Ohio, and I can stream it from there, but they've got a lot of like commentary from their newscasters in between, like the sidebar breaks, the lunch breaks, that kind of thing, and I can't play they're like commentary bits and pieces because they'll like um try to copyright strike or something, you know. So I just kind of got to figure that I got to figure that part out. But anyway, um let's get on with this. Hey, Gail. I know. What's he going to do? Question himself? We're going to find out. Hi, Dawn. Hey, Morgana Banana. Hi, Henny. Hi, Kale. Lee. Sherry Jones. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hey, Bubbles Crafty Corner. There's Steph. Did I miss anybody? Mary Lou. Hey, Mary Lou. Okay. All right, here we go. And we're going to get started.
Good afternoon.
Oh, hold on.
So we're here on the record, State versus Tucker. Jurors are in the jury room, so you prepared to proceed with your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's bring in the jury then.
Seems smiling at the jury when they come in.
All right, folks, you can have a seat. We'll wait for the remaining juror. Make yourself comfortable.
All jurors present in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. This is the jury. Welcome back. Good to see you back again. I'm sure you recall that I informed you before we took a very early break this morning that the defense's presentation had been completed. I was a bit premature with that. There's one other aspect of evidence that is going to be presented. So, Mr. Tucker.
I guess I'm calling myself to the stand.
All right. So, Mr. Tucker is going to be a witness in the case. So, if you'd approach the deputy, turn, face the clerk, raise your just raise your right hand, face the clerk. You like every you've already cleared security like everybody else here, so you're good. Just we want to put you under oath like every other witness.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, please have a seat on the witness stand.
I'll find out, Morgana. I already watched the first few minutes of this, but
First of all, would you state your name?
Franklin Tyrone Tucker.
All right. So, as you all know, Mr. Tucker's acting as his own attorney. So, in this particular direct examination, he is being allowed to testify in narrative form rather than asking himself questions and then giving an answer. He's just going to testify as a narrative. So
exactly, Lee. He just gets to tell his story.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Not exactly expected, guys. I'm sorry about that. But, I guess we're going to start. I think the best place to probably start is probably around Hurricane Irma. That would probably be the best way to go. I had been in Key West for, I don't know, a while. Been probably a couple of years. Been working on boats. Originally, before this storm happened, I got myself a boat. Actually, I had 3 at one point. But, doing the idea was to, sail the Caribbean, eventually I'll then hop my way down to Venezuela and then go to South America, go up the mouth of the Amazon. Didn't happen. Obviously Irma did a lot of damage. I mean, I'm sure some of you were here and remember. But thing is I didn't evacuate when that happened. And eventually, just prior to this incident happening, I was working doing hurricane cleanup. There wasn't very many of us here. A lot of people had evacuated, so there wasn't too many people here to do that kind of work. Not that it was my normal thing, but yeah, I mean, I was getting paid pretty good money. To be honest, it was, they had some of the more wealthy neighborhoods that were up in the Big Pine area. They had people who wanted their roofs blue tarped. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they wanted their roofs blue tarped, and they were paying me $300 an hour to get up there. And at the time, I mean, I was like $300 an hour. I'm up there, no problem, So I did some of that, and I also did hurricane, like debris, getting rid of debris and chopping up, cutting up like I don't know, logs or whatever, trees that had fallen. I do remember finding an airplane cockpit in somebody's backyard in Big Pine, and there's no airport near there, So anyway, but that's what I was doing for money at the time, and I was getting paid cash. So like I said, $300 an hour, and sometimes I'd do, I don't know, 4 or 5 roofs in a day sometimes. So that's pretty good money for that time, right? And yes, I did stay at cots at certain points, just because like many people at that time, didn't have it. A lot of us, if you want to say homeless, I guess that is the word. But the thing is a lot of people were homeless at that point. A lot of people lost their boats. A lot of people lost their houses, lost their homes. I wasn't exactly special that way. But I was working the whole time, and I was making good money. And my whole plan was to buy another boat, and again resume my plan to sail off into the Caribbean. And this is a personal note, I guess, because of the time. Most people don't know I have a 14-year. I had a 14-year-old son at the time that I raised myself. I was a single dad, and I raised him up till. Well, because he was supposed to come live with me. That's the only.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Story.
You wanted to complete your thought there? If it's connected, go ahead.
No, it's just part of the story because he was actually supposed to, he was supposed to be coming to live with me in about 2 months before, when this happened.
Okay.
Right after this happened, I had about 2 months, and he was supposed to come live with me. So it is kind of part of the story. You see my mentality at the time. But the thing is okay. So anyway, that didn't happen, obviously. So as far as the warehouse, right? The warehouse, I remember it from the storm because yes, I did stay there during the storm, and it was a big steel building. It was on cinder blocks, so I mean, okay, it seemed like a good place to ride out the storm. And the only thing I was worried about was the roof getting blown off. So I stayed there for I don't know, maybe a week. I don't know, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But and I know it's come out before that April Walker, Rory Wilson's girlfriend, did not like me. And I didn't stay there because of that. It's like, and not only that, they were having, between Rory and April, they had domestics that, I remember the cops coming out 3 times in one night when I was there. And I'm like, okay, this is not someplace I want to be. Right. So I didn't stay there. I went, I was staying at Cots again. Right. And when I was staying at Cots, it was okay. I don't necessarily like staying there, but I was saving up money. It's basically it, saving up money, getting a new boat. Anyway, so, somewhere's along the lines, and I don't remember exactly when this was, but, I know Mr. Johnson testified that, we met after he got out of jail. No, I was actually at work when he went to jail, and I remember very well when he went to jail because we knew each other prior to that. How, he actually knows how I ended up at the warehouse. The way I ended up there is I had a friend, CJ and Michelle, who lived, they were living in the same, I guess they, you guys know conch houses, I guess is what they call them down here. But it wasn't really a conch house because it's a warehouse, and they they had built apartments in there that I guess weren't really legal, but they were renting out rooms, but sharing a bathroom and a kitchen and a dining room, right? And there's multiple roommates that are up there. So there's people, I don't even remember how many people live there. There's a bunch of people who live there. But anyway, but Roy Wilson and his girlfriend had the apartment downstairs. They actually had an apartment to themselves. And then there were people upstairs who lived in the apartments upstairs, or the rooms upstairs, I should say. One of them was brought up before a guy named David Gross, right? They like to call him the White Detroit in this whole story. But yes, he lived upstairs, and my friends CJ and Michelle had one of these rooms up there. And Michelle, she was the manager at Burger King. She was actually a manager at Burger King. I forget what CJ did, but the thing is okay. CJ somewhere along the lines gets into an altercation with David Gross and punches him in the nose, right? And again, you know. David goes ahead and gets a restraining order against CJ. Now, I just happened to show up the day that, man, the police are escorting CJ and Michelle out of there because of this restraining order, right? And as they're going out, they're going to a hotel. That's where they're going to go, and they can't take all their belongings with them, right? Can't take everything with them. So they asked me. They were like, "Okay, well, would you stay here and watch our stuff? Make sure nobody messes with it. Make sure nobody steals it. That kind of stuff. Stay here, while until we can come back and get our stuff, right?" And I was like, at first I was like, okay, well, I've got to be at work in a few days, but yeah, I can watch it for you, and so I do, and I go and I stay in CJ and Michelle's room, and I did come into contact with a few of these people, I mean, it's like again, Travis was one of them. I didn't know him very well. As far as I knew, he came down from Michigan with a guy named Scott Gideon. That's the one I asked about. Or no, sorry, Matthew Gideon is his name. They called him Matty. But anyway, he had come down from Michigan with this guy. And, I mean, they were okay. I mean, I didn't really think anything of them. But, but they were okay. And, I don't remember exactly how long I was there before this incident happened. But this is how I end up, in this thing. Because, okay, like I said, I don't remember exactly the time frame here, but I do remember some of the people that were around at the time. I do remember Travis was there. I know Matthew had already left, and I think Matthew went to the beach, if I'm correct. But again, Mr. Johnson ended up with his medications, so that's a whole different story. But the thing is I'm trying to remember now. It's like you got to remember this is around Fantasy Fest time. When this happens, right? Because it happens on November 17th, right? And Fantasy Fest, that year was on Halloween, the 31st, right? Now I know just my own phone records that I looked at recently when I was looking at it for this case, right? I had 2 phone calls with John Travis Johnson, right? And they're from the 28th of October, right? So I must have met him somewhere's in that time period, right? And I know
Tammy probably feels like she's getting screamed at right now because everybody's like, "Yes, Tammy, yes, Tammy, yes, Tammy."
I really don't remember what the theme was, but I know
Sorry.
The parade was on Halloween night, and I know it was at the Green Parrot that night, right? And I hung out there quite a bit. My friend, longtime friend, runs the place. I don't know if any of Jim Possum, but he runs the place. And so I still have quite a few friends. I've been coming here since I was 13, and I guess they call it a Key West rubber band is what they call me. It's like I'll move away, I come back. I move away, I come back. My daughter was even born here, right? So anyway, to keep on going here, Fantasy Fest happens, and I'm hanging out with a friend of mine named Ben, and we're hanging out on what we call the party bench. It's right outside the little deli that's right there down on the corner, and he has a dog. Can't take him in the bar.
Sorry,
so, we're
Lee.
hanging out on
Sorry,
the bench.
Steph.
And
I
some
have
girls
to
came by,
remember.
and they wanted to paint up our faces.
Yeah, I'm
And
so
of course
sorry.
we let them. Right? I mean, it's like, okay, why not, right? So they go ahead and paint up our faces and all that. And then they're like, okay, well, can you pose for us? Look scary, that kind of thing. Okay, so we do, both of us, right? So there's a picture of both of us like this. But anyway, so fast forward, we go down to the point where all this has happened. And again, Fantasy Fest, I mean, look, I have a tendency to drink more when I come to Key West than any place else I ever live. It's like, especially when I was on the boatyard and working on boats and stuff like that, because I did do quite a bit of that.
Yeah,
Actually
but
did
I
a
mean, come on,
restoration
Kel. We
project
need to
on
know about the
River Square
time that
at one
he,
point.
stepped on a pop
So yeah, I
top
have a tendency to drink more when I'm down
when
there.
he was
And this one
9
day,
years old.
and this is about the best I could recollect, is
Uh,
I remember that day I was drinking Fireball with Travis,
you know,
right?
and the
So I
time that he
know
drank
I
Fireball
know
with
I'd been
Travis
drinking that day, and I know I went into
in
the
order
bedroom,
to
which
get to the point.
again CJ and Michelle's
We
room.
need to know
And,
these
so this
things.
is during the time period where I'm watching it for them. So I remember that. And I don't remember much else about the day, except I do remember at one point, it's got to be later on in the evening, and I wake up and I'm out of cigarettes, right? And I wake up and I get, and Travis is actually there, right? So I go and I walk to
So
Tom Thumb,
sorry.
to get cigarettes, and I go over there to get
Yes,
cigarettes, and I
Don,
come
when he
back,
was in
and
Margaritaville,
when we were up
he
there, when we
stepped
were up at
on a
Tom Thumb, right?
pop top.
I remember looking and I'm like, I could look up,
He
okay, there's
blew
some
out a
gas
flip
stations right
flop.
there, and then you can see Laurel Avenue where this happened, right? You can see
And
Laurel
then that
Avenue
one
from there.
time at
And I could see the cop lights up
Band
there,
Camp.
right? I could see a bunch of
Oh
cop
my
lights up there.
God, I
And I remember saying
can't.
to Travis, I was like, man, I wonder what happened up
I'm
there,
sorry, I didn't
right?
mean to
And it's
deafen
like,
you guys.
and the thing is again,
God.
I'm not in dark clothing. I am in shorts. I am wearing sandals. I am wearing, normal people clothes,
God,
right?
Lee.
I guess I should say normal for Key
Stop
West,
it.
right? But anyway, yes, and Mr. Mansfield alluded to this. I did have a nice big long goatee, and I had, Lord knows I have tattoos when I take off my suit. But the bottom line is I planned on living on boats. Yes, I was living that lifestyle. It's like, I planned, like I said, I planned on sailing off into the sunset, and just enjoying my life and kind of traveling. So I kind of look like a little savage. I'm not gonna say I didn't. It's like, us boat people, we kind of had have a style, I guess. I don't know what it is. And yeah, it's kind of a freer way of living, I guess. Anyway, but beside the point. So getting back to that night, I remember looking up down Laurel Avenue and seeing the lights, right? By the time we got back, right? So it's not a very far walk from Tom Thumb to the warehouse. But by the time we got back there were cop cars everywhere. I mean, I'd never
Well,
seen
at least
anything like
he's
that on
to the
Stockton, right? I mean, literally, you got the
warehouse coming back from the
FWC,
store. At
Border
least he's
Patrol,
there. He's
there's
on the
police
same
everywhere, and
day.
they're going everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
he had that
And
swager.
there's police sirens everywhere. And I remember, we went back inside, and I think
Oh,
Travis did.
people.
I think Travis did buy like a 12-pack of beer or something like that, right? And we go back inside, and I remember you could see again. There's a bunch of these cop cars that went down into what they call it Little Haiti there, right? It's a bunch of trailers, and yes, it's before you get to the Hogfish, right? That road there, and I remember there's a bunch of cop cars that, man, you're going down into that neighborhood, right? And I'm like, damn, I wonder what those guys did. I'm like, I mean, whatever it is, they want them bad, So,
Well, there
and I
was
think I said that to
Popo.
Travis. I'm not sure.
Popo was
Oh, and by the
everywhere.
way, when we got back, that was the other thing. Big Scott was waiting for us when we got back. I remember that too, because I know.
So you got
Travis,
two
he testified
Detroits,
that he had the key to
a
the door.
Ty,
And Rory Wilson were the only ones with the keys to the door,
a
right? So,
Wilson,
Big Scott was waiting outside for us,
and a Big
right?
Scott.
And because he couldn't get inside, right? He couldn't get in the door, right? So anyway, so we go upstairs, and and when I saw all that stuff out the window, you got to remember I'm still a little bit lit. I managed to walk my butt down to the Tom Thumb, but I wasn't going much farther than that. So anyway, so I go from there. Let's see, I go from there, and I remember Big Scott and Travis were going to go, and they were going to go hang out on the front porch downstairs and watch the cop cars go by, just see what was up. They're going to drink beer on the porch and watch the cop cars. I'm like, okay, I'm going back to bed, 'cause
That's
was
how I like
like,
to pass
I'm
time
not,
is sit on the
still not
porch
good,
and drink
right?
beer and watch the cop
So
cars go by.
I went back in and I passed out and then in the bed, right? And was it CJ and Michelle's room, right? So I passed out in there. And from what I understand, again, I can't, I can't really, say, except for I've seen it on video now. I mean, I've seen it on video as far as some of this stuff. But while I was upstairs and I'm passed out in there, this is where, okay, to clarify, when I went to go get cigarettes at Tom Thumb, right, it has to be sometime after the Florida Keys electric video that you see there, right? It has to be sometime after that. I don't know when, but unfortunately, that's all we have for video. So I don't know. I just know that it had to be sometime after that, because, like I said, Travis is already there. So it's like, okay, I know it has to be there, right? So anyway, so I don't know exactly, what time. I couldn't tell you exactly what time. I do know that yes, it would have been helpful if we had the video from Tom Thumb.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Okay, they're going to sidebar. Wouldn't it be funny if if the judge said, "Oh, sorry, Tucker, you can't be a part of this conversation because you're on the stand." I don't know where the Tom Thumb was. I think it was just right up the road, or maybe that was CVS. I'm confused. Hmm. What about Regina Phalange? I know they didn't name her, did they? Hmm. The Devil's clavicle. Hey, 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 hey. I wonder if them lawyers are like, you know what? Why don't you just get to the point? Get to the point. We don't need to know. Um, Here we go.
okay. So we'll resume with direct examination testimony.
So okay, back to where we are with the story. So again, I'm passed out in bed, and somewheres along the lines, again, the police show up at the house is because, okay, this was told to me by Travis and Big Scott. Okay.
We'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Well, I get woke up along the lines somewheres along the night, and I don't remember when, but I remember, man, I get woken up in the middle of the night, and because when they went downstairs to go and check this out, right? I remember telling them, I was like, I'm gonna go sleep, man. I'm like, yeah, tell me what happened later, just tell me what happened, because I mean, it is kind of a big deal, So anyway, so I go pass out, and somewheres along the night, I wake up, man, and Rory Wilson is there, and Travis is there, and Big Scott's there, and I mean, we're drinking, and yeah, smoking some weed, I mean, and as far as crack, I don't remember, man, the crack thing. Not too much of it anyway. I mean, I vaguely remember some of it. But but the thing is because I say that because I seem to remember somebody having crack, somebody smoking it, but man, I don't remember. I do, again, at this point, I'm resuming drinking, and I am smoking weed at this time, right? So I'm not, again, I'm refogging my brain at this point. So anyway, so after that, let's see, because okay, like I said, again, I had a tendency around Fantasy Fest. It was usually a couple weeks worth of partying, man, during Fantasy Fest is usually what it was for me, But I don't remember much, man, as far as the next day. I don't really remember too much as far as that went. I do remember, okay, this is one thing I do remember. I go, because again, it starts, it's been many years, and I can't really tell you guys, man, exactly, because it has been years, and I'm trying to, my best to remember here. But
Quit saying man.
There's a point that comes in there where we have two detectives that show up at the door, right? And they come to the front door, and I open the door for them. I literally open the door for them, and I know now who they are. I mean, I'm sure they introduced themselves.
Yeah, I know. Billy. Apparently he can't remember because he was high and drunk.
right? And now don't get me wrong, I knew they were detectives because they're not wearing uniforms and they've got their badge on their belt, right? So the thing is okay, so I know they're detectives, right? And they start asking me questions about Rory Wilson, right? And I know Rory. I mean, I don't know, again, it's not like we hang out all the time. It's not like I know him, I know him that well, right? But I know him, right? And but they're asking me questions like, okay, they're asking me, is he a drug dealer? They're asking me stuff like that, right? And I'm like, well, not that I know of. I know he has a job. I mean, I know he has a pregnant girlfriend. I know that. But they're asking me a bunch of different questions, right? And I actually even, I even gave him, Rory's phone number. I was like, if you want to contact him, here, I'll give you his number, right? And I remember Rory after that, man. It's like, it's kind of weird, but he texts me right after they leave, and because I also told him that Rory's door is around the other side of the building, right? It's actually on the back side of the building. He has like a front door that's all his own, right? And I told him about that, and it's like, so anyway, again, it's a little fuzzy here, but I do remember Rory texting me not long after they left, right? And, he's like, cops.
Objection to hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I do remember, telling Rory I go to him because they left me a card, right? And I go knock on his door and I give him the card, right? And I said, look, man, these aren't uniformed officers. These are detectives, man. I'm like, and they were asking me some questions about you, and you might want to give them a call. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's what I tell him, and I give him the card, right? And after that, let's see, trying to remember anything important after that because okay, after that I don't remember too much. Oh, because it wasn't too long after that where they come in and they do this raid. But okay, prior to the raid, I remember this. It's Thanksgiving time, right? So it's around Thanksgiving, right? And I remember DeLuna's had like a Thanksgiving dinner, like a free Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, right? And I like DeLuna's, and so I went over there for that. And I think this would be the 21st. I would have to say it's the 21st because actually, I know it's the 21st now. Okay, so it's the 21st, right? And I go and I was a little sketched out by the detective showing up there, because look, the warehouse, like I said, Rory Wilson, and April had cops come there many times, right? And look, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get caught up in something, right? So I didn't want to stay there very long, and I actually told CJ and Michelle this, right? I'm like, I'm trying to be a friend here, but at the same time, I'm not trying to hang out here too long, right? And so anyway, so I remember, the raid at the warehouse. That's what Travis called it. I don't know what you actually call it, but that night, okay, I went to DeLuna's, went and did the whole dinner thing, and this is when I first heard about what had happened up at the treehouse, right? I hear through a friend of mine, Janice. We were having dinner that night, at the DeLuna's thing, and she told me that.
Objection to hearsay.
Oh, okay. I was
Sustain
informed.
the objection in terms of the details.
I was informed that somebody got stabbed in the parking lot up at CVS. That's what I was informed of, right? And so that was my first, hearing of this. Anyway, but that same night is when this thing happens as far as the whole raid thing. And I'm telling you, it's the stupidest thing I ever did, man, in this whole thing. Because, okay, they come in and I'm upstairs and I'm literally in CJ and Michelle's room and I had a laptop, kind of like I do now, but I had a laptop and I was watching TV on the laptop, right? And I was just getting ready, watching, another show. And when they came in, the way that place was laid out, they had like, because it was an old warehouse, right? So they had the one I was in, you could literally see to downstairs, right? It had like a plexiglass window that went across one of the walls. I imagine it was like an old supervisor, like an old supervisor office or something. But you could look down and you could actually see right downstairs, right? And I hear a bunch of commotion down there. And I look down, from the plexiglass, the window, and I could see the cops banging on the door. Right, they're actually, because okay, it's two separate. Rory's got his in the back. There's this big storage room, and then there's like the stairs that go up to the other the other, I don't want to say apartments, but the other rooms where people were renting, right? And so they're banging on the door, right? And they've got a battering ram. And there's boom, boom, and then I see they've got ski masks on, they've got assault rifles, there's smoke. I mean, literally. I look down there and I'm just like, oh my God, right? And so anyway, do the dumbest thing that you could possibly ever do. I go out of CJ and Michelle's room and I come walking down the stairs with my hands up, looking like an idiot because I'm sitting there going, I'll open the door, just don't shoot. Like they can see me. It's like, so as soon as I open the door, the next thing you know, I've got an assault rifle in my nose, right? And they're leading me out. And, literally I'm like whipped around, handcuffs on, and taken out to a squad car, right? And it's like, and I remember, and one thing I didn't like is I remember as I was going by, seeing Rory Wilson's girlfriend on her stomach. Now look, April and I didn't like each other. That's true. But she was 8 months pregnant, and seeing her on her belly on the ground did not make me happy. But they take me out to the squad car, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm literally sitting out. You guys have a warrant? Am I being detained? Am I arrested? I mean, the whole thing. I have no idea why I'm being taken out to the squad car, or why even any of this is happening.
Hi, Nicole. Sorry, I
But
was sitting here
based on
watching
what the
this and then
detectives told me,
completely
that it showed up there a few days earlier, I guess.
blipped
Based
out
on
on
what they told
the
me, I thought it was over
on the
drugs.
chat for
I
a few
mean, I
minutes.
thought maybe they were there for drugs or something. I didn't know, but I just know that, man, they came in. They're coming in like that. They got a
Confusing.
reason. If they're coming in like that, and so I'm way confused at this point. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm sitting in the back of the squad car, and they left me out there for a while, and I have no idea. And eventually somebody got in the driver's seat. I don't remember who it was, but somebody gets in the driver's seat, and I'm literally I'm asking them a bunch of questions. I'm like, trying to figure out what the hell's going
Right, Kel? I know.
on. And so,
Yes,
eventually they
Mary
tell me
Lou.
they
She
want to
had a
take me
good
down to the
time.
station. And I'm like, well, look, I
Hey,
don't have a
QB
shirt on. I don't have
Designs.
shoes
How are
on.
you?
I don't
Mary
know if
Lou,
this
she
is
made
over.
snow angels.
I'm like, am I being arrested? Any of that stuff, right? And no, it ends up, it actually is Detective Pitcher. He goes and he gets me a shirt. It's a like a camouflage shirt, but he gets it from David Gross's room, right? And he brings it down, so I at least have a shirt on, right? And so they take me down to the station, right? And when they take me down the station, I'm trying, because again, this is, it's pretty traumatic. I'm not going to say it's not. It's pretty traumatic when that kind of stuff happens. But anyway, not that I've been through it, I've been through it a bunch of times, but I mean, like I said, I'm lucky I didn't get shot going down the stairs. Anyway, so at bottom line is they take me into the station. And when they take me in the station, let's see, I don't remember who it was that brought me in. I know they bring me in and they put me in an interrogation room, right? And when they first start talking to me, I'm like, again, I'm wondering why I'm here.
I'm objecting to his testifying to his statements made back then.
I just said I was wondering why. I'm telling you my thought.
She's probably sitting in a corner drinking coffee and crocheting, JC. Mickey Joe, if you're listening, JC wants to know where you are.
Oh, okay. I'll leave that out then. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I'll leave that part of the story out. Anyway, so I go into the interrogation room, and at first, they're questioning me, and I'm thinking at the time, I'm like thinking, okay, remember I said I thought it was over drugs, right? So, and they're asking me these questions, and first that's what I thought they were, again, they're asking me because they want to know information, right? So, but then it comes around to the murder.
Yeah.
They start asking me questions about
I
it.
love
And again,
Happy
I'm
Meal
thinking,
Days, right?
Again, okay. They asked me what I knew about it, that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, don't want to testify to what they asked me, but but at the time, I remember thinking, they just wanted information from me, right? They just want to know what I know, what I've heard, that kind of thing. But somewhere along the lines in there, and it became very clear they thought I had something to do with this, right? And I remember. Oh, wait a second, because I'm forgetting about a part here. They take me out of the interrogation room at some point, and they take me down. They put me in a squad car, right? And I'm still in handcuffs, right? So I'm still in handcuffs, but they put me in the squad car, and they leave me down in the squad car for I don't know how long it had to be, like an hour. I have no idea, but I was in the squad car. And then they bring me back up and they ask me a bunch more questions. Right. And, like I said, now I'm getting this feeling. I'm like, okay, wait a second. They're not asking me because they think, because they just want information. They think I had something to do with this thing. Right. And, yeah, at the time I remember, that they went to that direction. And, again, I'm very adamant. I get very adamant once I realize this. I'm like, oh no, but yeah, so I don't know if I can testify to what I said, but I remember, saying it to them. I was like,
Objection to what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, then I won't say what I said then, but I will say this. I was very adamant about, not having anything to do with it. So eventually it gets down to the point where I've been interrogated all night over this thing. And it got to a point, I mean, I was like, look, I'm like, are you going to arrest me? Are you actually going to arrest me? Or, am I free to go? Can I get, look, I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of saying the same, and, giving these answers. Can I go home, or are you going to arrest me for this thing? And they let me go, right? And not only did they let me go, the bad part about that is they made me walk home. And I remember the directive was to check out the cameras, how many cameras there are, right? And and they did give me, I'll give them this, they gave me slides, because remember I told you I didn't have any shoes. They gave me slides, right? Was it the stuff they use in jail, the slides, right? Kind of like flip flops. Anyway, so they give me those and send me on my way. So now I got to walk all the way home, which, okay, it's a little distance, And so I walked there, and I probably got there, I don't know. I probably got there like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It was early in the morning, and I've been there all night, right? And when I get there, the door is locked, and as we've said, I didn't have a key, right? So, but my stuff is still in there. Now I'm freaked out. I gotta tell you, I'm freaked out, because okay, when they, again, that I've never had that happen, right? So I'm freaked out about the thing. And when I get there, the door is locked, and I remember I had to throw rocks up at the windows to finally get Travis to come down and open the door, right? So he comes down, he opens up the door, and I tell him what happened. I was like, I just tell him what happened to me. I was like, I can't believe it, I can't believe they took me down there, blah, 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 this, that, and that, right? So anyway, but I don't want to stay there. I don't want to stay there. I'm like, okay, this is way more than this is way more than I want, right? So I get my stuff together, and I literally grab all my stuff, and I tell CJ Michelle, I called up CJ Michelle, and I was like, look, look, it's all good, you guys, man, but I can't stay here. What I'm saying? I can't stay here anymore. And I remember them asking me if I would at least grab, like, they had family photos and pictures of kids and stuff like that. And they asked me if I would grab that and take it down to Burger King and drop it off there, right? I was like, yes, I can at least do that for you, So I grabbed a bunch of the pictures, man, from their room, and I tried to grab, anything, that could be of value or sentimental value to them, right? Because now I'm leaving, and I'm not staying there. And so yeah, I grab all that, I put it into a bag for them, and I grab my stuff, and I head on out, and I go ahead. And this is, I don't know, it's I don't remember what time of day it is. I know it's morning, I mean, like I said, I got there probably like 5, 6 o'clock. So I don't remember how long it took them to open the door or anything like that. But I did grab, some stuff, dropped it off at Burger King. And I do remember I called 2 people that day. I called my friend Cliff, and I called my, one of my brothers, Jeff. He's not blood related brother, but he is my brother in every sense. But yes, so I go ahead and I call them because I'm freaked out, right? Because I knew when they let me go, I knew that, okay, they let me go, but I got the distinct impression that, man, no, they thought I had something to do with this, and they were, this was not going to be the last time that, they talked to me about this. And, I was scared. I'm going to tell you, straight up, I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, and I can't explain to anybody, the feeling. But I was scared. So that's why I called them up, because I was like, look, man, everything everything.
Objection to what he was telling these people.
Oh, I'm talking about my kid.
All right.
But anyway, in my mind at that point, yeah, I mean, everything was telling me, man, it's like, you need to get out of here. Right. I mean, these people, man, they think you had something to do with this. And, but then, the other side of me is going, if I take off, they're going to think I did it, So, I mean, I have this little war going on in my head. And, anyway, so I went from Burger King and I started walking down towards Key West, right? Because there's that little bridge and park and stuff there. And I remember as I came across the bridge, there was a couple guys there, and they're drinking off of they're drinking off a liter of Skull or whatever. It's the rot gut vodka. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I need one. I was like, you might, So I sat there with them, took a couple hits off that, and I eventually end up down at McDonald's, right? And when I get down to McDonald's, and man, I'm still sketched out. I'm sketched out about the whole thing, and I don't know what to do. To be honest, I just don't know what to do. It's like, man, it's like I've never found myself in this position before. I don't know what to do. So anyway, I get on, because I went to McDonald's because they have free Wi-Fi there, right? So I could get on my laptop because I always had a laptop in my backpack, right? So I get on my laptop, and I'm not even sure what I'm doing, to be honest. I really wasn't sure on what I was doing at that point. I didn't know. So anyway, but that's when Paula shows up, and Paula and I.
Got on my laptop, stepped on a pop top. Sorry. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Literally had to say that. Anyway, if you know, you know. Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville, right?
We weren't friends, right? But we knew each other. It's one of those things, small island, and and we know who lives in the neighborhood. We know who lives on the island. It's like you run into each other. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? That kind of thing. But I don't know that much about her. I mean, so anyway, so I run into Paula, and I remember because I was feeling so bad and so sorry for myself for, man, being interrogated, for overnight, being interrogated for this thing all night, and I'm scared and I'm feeling sorry for myself, I guess, right? And I remember seeing Paula, and she had a bandage on her neck from the night, right? And I remember seeing her, and I was just like, and all of a sudden I felt like such a, I mean, I'm not trying to curse, I guess, but I felt really bad, right? Because I was like, here I am feeling sorry for myself, and then I see her, right, and she's bruised up, and she has the thing on her neck, and it's like, and when and I told her what happened to me. I told her that they took me down to the station. I told her what happened, and the thing is Paula, Paula, yes, she did cry, and yes, she did, cry on my shoulder, and and I told you I felt horrible because it was just like it's like, again, here I am feeling bad because they grilled me all night, and then I saw and heard from her experience, right? And no, I just felt bad about it. It's like, okay, here I am again. I guess it's the somebody always has something worse thing. There's always.
Objection to the self-serving statements, Judge.
All right. I'll overrule the objection. You
Thank
can
you, Your Honor.
continue.
Anyway, so it was definitely, again, while I was still not certain about what was going to happen here, but it definitely put me in a different mindset to see her, right? And but anyway, so after I saw her, I remember I went back to COTS because now I'm going to COTS, and I'm not going back to the warehouse. I don't want nothing to do with it, right? So I go back to COTS, and they had again another little Thanksgiving dinner thing there, and I had some of that, whatever. And then I went into where the bunk is, and this is when I get arrested, right? And when I got arrested, because Detective Pitcher was the one of the ones who talked to me when they were doing their interviews, and I remember him leading the charge. But there was a good amount of officers, and they were coming in from both sides. And I remember looking up at him, and I was like, I guess we're not talking now, are we? And he's like, no. And so anyway, so they arrest me, and they take me over to the jail, right? And I'm out, and the whole time I'm kind of flipping, and I'm like, literally, like, I'm like, I'm like telling them I didn't have anything to do with this. And, and so I'm telling him this stuff, and somewhere along the lines, I get told that it's about witness tamper, right? And I'm like, I thought it was over Paula. I thought it was because I talked to her at McDonald's. And I was like, nobody told me I couldn't talk to her, right? But that's not what it ends up being about, and I won't testify as to what it was because I think that would Mr. Mansfield probably object to it. But at the same time, so so I'm thinking, again, my head is spinning again, and okay, so now I'm in jail, and they take me, and they literally, okay, the jail has the elevator, goes up, they take me in. I remember getting booked, kind of booked in, whatever the hell, whatever that is, where they check in, whatever, right? But they do that, and this is, I'm not going to say I haven't been to jail before. I've been to Key West jail one other time, and it was for misdemeanors, right? Boat charges, it was nothing. I mean, I can't say it was nothing, but it was misdemeanors. But anyway, so thing is they take me right to the back, right, and they put down all these brown paper bags, and there's a bunch of guards around me, and they literally make me drop all my clothes right down the bag, and they put me in the black and white stripes, and then they put me in chains head to toe. I mean, chains, chains, and they take me right to solitary, right? Now, again, I've been to jail before, right? Never for anything close to this. And the thing is and I've never had an experience like it, ever. But they take me there, they put me in solitary, and my mind is spinning. I can't even explain to you guys what it's like. It's like I just didn't know. I was a normal guy a second ago, and now I'm sitting in a jail cell, and I'm being put in chains, and man, everybody's people are telling me I'm a murderer, and so I'm in there, and I'm in the solitary, and solitary is weird. It's 23.
Objection to the relevance of solitary.
Well, I'm just telling the story. I mean,
Oh,
look,
I
you can tell me where to stop if you want.
Well, I could sustain that objection.
Yeah, I mean, okay. And I'm not exactly sure what is relevant of anything. I'm just telling the story.
I understand, Mr. Tucker, but
Anyway, so yeah, I go to jail, and over the course of time, I mean, it's I guess it's not really relevant as far as now. I meet my wife. I shouldn't say meet my wife. I've known her since we were kids, but she was the first person to contact me. She was the first person to contact me when I got there, and I think it was like day 7. And I was surprised. I was really surprised because we hadn't seen each other in 33 years, and I can't even tell you. But anyway, the thing is so yeah, she comes, and by this point, I still didn't have a lawyer. I was still in solitary. I still don't know why I'm there. I have no idea why I'm there, really. I mean, I know what they're saying. I don't know.
Objection, Judge, to this.
I just,
okay.
We're rambling here.
Well, I don't rambling, but I'm not sure how much what we're hearing is not relevant. So,
would you like me to?
well, if we'd like a little direction, we can excuse the jurors, or
Yeah, I'll take direction. I'll take direction. I mean,
well,
it's like, I just don't know what.
I understand.
Where you want me to
I'm
go?
just suggesting that it would be prudent, in my view, for just a moment or two to excuse the jurors, and we'll get back to you.
Steph, or no, Morgana, they were apparently high school sweethearts. And then they got married years later. Oh, yeah, Steph. That's good. Did I miss any other? I'm scrolling up into the chat. Steph says Mr. Mansfield will probably object to it, he says. Yeah, he did. Well, he would have if he would have continued.
Not finding fault, Mr. Tucker has, certainly comported himself well on the witness stand. It's just when you start to get into
I'm not sure, Morgana.
The circumstances of incarceration, of reuniting with ultimately his wife and the like. You objected? That's objectionable.
Yes, Judge, it is objectionable. He's courting sympathy from the jury,
Well,
trying to tell them how horrible solitary is. I mean, it's not relevant information.
I understand. I agree with you. I'm not sure if he's intentionally trying to do that. I didn't get that impression. I got the impression he was telling his story. And I didn't attribute any ill motive. I understand the potential effect that it could have. That's why I sustained your objection, and it's why I excused the jurors to try to give some direction so we don't have to keep going back and forth.
Very well.
So,
I mean,
Your
I
Honor.
understand he's being allowed to testify in the narrative, but, getting into how devastating this was for him and all the thought process, I mean, what's the purpose of that other than a court?
well,
Your Honor, I mean,
go
if I
ahead.
may,
Go ahead.
look, you gotta understand this was
Right,
an
Lee, bugger,
extremely
bug mama
emotional
for
experience. And it's like, when I'm trying to remember
BBLES.
this, it is hard for me.
Oh,
This was
thanks,
not
QB
something
Design.
pleasant.
She
It
is
wasn't
cutie,
something
cutie.
cool,
Of course not.
and it's hard for me to bring it up and not bring, not
She's
have
trying
emotions
to
behind it.
I
I'm sorry.
take
understand that.
Poppy for a
I
walk
think
right
for
now.
most,
She's got a
the vast majority of
a
human
little
beings,
leash here.
it would be extremely traumatic, devastating, life-altering, whatever strong words you want to use to experience that. And I get it. And I think I've given quite a bit of leeway in terms of you, quote unquote, telling your story. But at this particular point, I'm not sure how much else is relevant.
Yeah, I would ask the same thing. I bet, what else would you like me to go into? I mean, how far back do you want me to go? I mean, I did miss the one in there. There is the one where I go to Metro PCS. I haven't talked about that because that is one of the things that got me arrested.
Well,
So I don't know. I don't know what you want to know.
I can't tell you what I would like you to go into or
I
wouldn't
know.
like you to go into. The only thing I can say is that I feel I've granted quite a bit of leeway, but in terms of the building up to the event, if you will,
Almost,
aftermath,
Lee,
your experience
almost.
with law enforcement,
Yeah.
your experience being arrested, but how much, I don't think there's much room for any more of that unless there's
There's a couple
something that you're going to say was seized from you, or you're going to try to explain away some statement that you made.
No, Your Honor, but there are a couple of important things that I actually forgot to tell the jury at this point. Not anything. I don't think it's going to take very long. There's just a couple of things as I'm going through this. I mean, I forgot to tell them about Metro PCS because to me it really didn't mean anything at the time,
Okay.
but it does later.
Okay.
So
Well, that's factual in nature, but and I'm not saying.
But I mean,
Solitary isn't factual, but that's really not relevant to the proof or the defense. That's just the, what should we say, the fallout of being arrested. It doesn't go to the elements of the crime or a defense.
No,
frankly.
it doesn't, Your Honor. It's just thinking about it. It was like, okay, I didn't know where to end there, and I can end that right there. That's
I
fine.
understand that, and you did kind of indicate amenability to seeking some sort of direction, and that's why I used the jurors to try to do so.
Thank you.
So I think we've
gone
given as much of that as we can in terms of direction, and so
I'd say there's a couple more pieces, and that's
Okay.
it. Just
All
to
right.
make sure that again, they get the full picture here.
I understand that. But so let's bring him in, please.
I think that they were married after all of this had happened and he was arrested. And then I believe it was her that paid his bond. But I'm not positive exactly what the timeline is there.
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Welcome back, members of the jury. The defendant remains on the witness stand and is going to continue his direct testimony. So you can proceed.
Okay, and I was just look, I think we agreed that stopping where the story where that part is probably a good idea. But there were a couple of things I forgot in there that happened along the way. I go at one point, and this is before I get arrested. I go to Metro PCS, and I'm going to pay my phone bill. Right, that's all I'm going. I'm going over there, and I'm going to go over to Burger King and get something to eat. And I remember Roy Wilson. He's outside of he's outside the warehouse. And I just happened to be going out, and he asked if he could walk with me. Right, I'm like, okay. Again, at this point, I don't know anything, so it's like
An investigation.
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose in having you go to the hospital that night?
Was to meet with the victim, Paula.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! What happened? What happened? Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can figure this out. Unless they cut the stream. Maybe they potentially cut the stream. Let me go look, you guys. Hold on. It still says day 8 here. I must have accidentally hit a live button or something. They have called her back to they called her back apparently for their rebuttal or something. I don't know. See if we can figure out where we're at.
saying she didn't come looking for Rory a couple times, but yeah, I tried not to. But Rory Wilson, yes, I did hang out with him on a few occasions.
And you heard that
Excuse me
out.
one thing.
That is the cross.
But, kind of booked in whatever the hell, whatever that is, where they check in, whatever, right? But
It would be extremely traumatic, devastating, life-altering, whatever strong words you want to use to experience that. And I get it. And I think I've given quite.
Where am I?
because we hadn't.
Maybe I'm not gone back far enough. Surely to goodness I have, right?
I do, again, at this point, I'm resuming drinking and I am smoking. I'm not going back to the warehouse. I don't want nothing to do with it, right?
Okay, I think this is about where we're at.
Kind of booked in whatever the hell, whatever that is, where they check in, whatever, right? But they do that, and this is, I'm not gonna say I haven't been to jail before. I've been to Key West jail one other time.
Okay, I remember that.
I can't tell you what.
In the back, and it was like a caved-in roof, if I remember correctly, and there's a toilet in there. Now, Roy Wilson, he's outside of he's outside the warehouse. I just happened to be going out, and
Okay, this is
yes,
about where we were at. I don't want to mess it up
Okay.
too much more.
Again, at this point, I don't know anything.
Twilight Zone, I know, right?
So we walk over there, and this becomes something later. But I didn't think of anything of it at the time, But we go over there, and I pay my phone bill, and but this is before the raid, and that it becomes something later. But the thing is that I just figured that had to be in there just because, again, it does become part of the story.
Lee. Do do
So
do
this
do 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 do
fancy
do do
dress
do
stuff
do.
becomes part of the story too.
Hmm.
Because I guess I can't testify to what those pieces are. I guess I'll save that for my close. But I felt it necessary to tell you about that trip. And then I just want to make sure that we've got everything here, because I don't think there's anything else I can remember from the time period that's actually relevant to the situation.
Right here, though, I'm with Kel 100%. He
I can tell you
needed
this,
bullet
'cause
points,
somebody else asked me this not too long ago, and they asked me if
notes,
I'd ever
and
been to
bullet
the treehouse
points.
before, right? And yes, I've been to the treehouse 3 times in my life, right? I was there once because when I first got back to Key West, right, I had gotten back and I was coming from Arizona, right? And I get back to Key West, and yeah, rents here are high. Everybody knows that, right? And I saw an ad in the paper, I want to say. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. But it was Matt. It's the only time I've ever met the victim, right? It's the only time. And he was renting out the flats on the treehouse, right, for $350 a month, if I remember correctly. And and the thing is, I go there to check it out because, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was an ad in the paper or something like that, right? But I go there and, because I'm looking for a place to stay. I just got back, right? So I'm looking for a place to stay. And when I got there, I was like, okay, it's these flats on the treehouse, and it's built up. It's like a deck on a deck on a deck, I guess. And I'm looking at that, and then for the bathroom facilities, it was like a trailer in the back, and it was like a caved-in roof, if I remember correctly, and there's a toilet in there, nothing else, right? And I'm like, for $350 a month, I ain't doing it, right? I'm just not doing it, right? But not, that's not to say that Matt was actually a nice guy. I mean, that's the only time I've ever met him, and he was a nice guy. He was, that's about all. I mean, like I said, I didn't get to know him or anything like that, but he showed me around, showed me what he had, and I just said no. That's all it was. And the other 2 times I was there, was it Todd O'Quinn? I knew Todd O'Quinn, and Todd O'Quinn. We went to the bar a couple times. Went down to the Hogfish, and I had a little bit too much to drink or whatever, and I couldn't get all the way back to either Cots or I stayed a couple of different places, but yeah. And I couldn't make it all the way back because, again, remember, this is after the storm. I'm still trying to rebuild. And so anyway, I remember staying there two nights. Like there's 2 different times, but different times, not 2 nights in a row, but 2 different time periods. And just because I couldn't make it back. And I remember one night, I don't know if Paula remembers, but I remember one night she woke me up yelling at me. But yeah, and it's like, but the thing is so yeah, those are the only 3 times that I've been to the treehouse. And let's see. And then what was the other one? There was something else somebody asked me not too long ago. And I think it's kind of relevant. Trying to remember. It's like, because yeah, that takes care of that. But trying to remember here. Oh no, somebody asked me if I knew Matt, and like I said, I've already answered that question. It was I met him once. As far as anything else, I'm trying to think of anything else that you guys need to know. I don't know. I guess Mr. Mansfield can remind me now. I guess I'll go ahead and turn it over to Cross.
Okay, thank you. Is there any cross-examination?
Yes, Judge. So, Mr. Tucker, your story in front of this jury today is you were drunk that day.
Yep.
Plastered.
Yep.
You're drinking highballs, red balls, what you call them?
Fireball.
Fireballs. What's a fireball?
I'm surprised you don't know, but okay.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
No, you're wrong. I was getting ready. I'm answering your question. Fireball is
Oh, you guys, wait a minute. I have to rewind it back like just
very
30
popular. That's why
seconds
it's a
because
surprise.
And that's when you drank-
husband
that's
came
when
home
you
from
drinking the
work
day that this all
and was
happened.
talking
Yes,
to
sir.
me. So
Got
I
so drunk
missed.
you went back to the warehouse.
Hold on a second. Hold
went
on.
upstairs,
Hold on.
Fell asleep,
Knocked out.
knocked out.
Yep.
Now you were at the warehouse. You said you had been there on and off, right?
Well,
You're drinking the day.
I'm surprised you don't know. I'm trying to think of anything else that you guys
literally, he comes in the door and he's telling me that he bought, you're not going to believe this, donuts. All right. Or not donuts. This time he bought apple fritters. So he was showing me that he had bought apple fritters, and I was explaining to him that Jolie was using a um, what do you call those stretchy cords that's got hooks on both ends that you use like for the back of trucks and stuff? What do you call those? They're stretchy, elasticy, um, and it's got the hooks on both ends, and you use them. A bungee cord. Yes, Lee. Thank you. Jolie's using a bungee cord as a dog leash. Yeah. She's got one end of it on Poppy's collar, and she's using the other end to lead her by. She's killing me, cracking me up. But anyway, that's what I was explaining to him, because he's like, "Why does she have a bungee cord around Poppy's collar?" I was like, so, and then instantly, all of a sudden, I hear the prosecutor speaking, and I'm like, wait, did the video jump again? I don't know. I know, right, Lee? He listened to the conversation last night about the donuts, right? Okay. Okay. Body parts. What? What do you mean body parts? You guys crack me up. Okay. And we're back. We're going back. We're on the continuation.
Guys need to know. I don't know. I guess Mr. Mansfield can remind me now. I guess I'll go ahead and turn it over to Cross.
Okay, thank you. Is there any cross-examination?
Yes, Judge. So, Mr. Tucker, your story in front of this jury today is you were drunk that day.
Yep.
Plastered.
Yep.
You're drinking highballs, red balls, what you call them?
Fireball.
Fireballs. What's a fireball?
I'm surprised you don't know, but okay.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
No, you're wrong. I was getting ready. I'm answering your question. Fireball is it's a whiskey, it's cinnamon whiskey. You know, it's very popular. That's why I said I'm surprised.
And that's what you drank. That's what you were drinking the day that this all happened.
Yes, sir.
Got so drunk you went back to the warehouse, went upstairs, fell asleep,
Knocked out.
knocked out.
Yep.
Now you were at the warehouse. You said you had been there on and off, right?
Well, not necessarily on and off. I mean, I actually staying there. I think there was only 2 times. You know, there was during the hurricane, and then there was the time period. You know, for CJ and Michelle. Other than that, I knew a couple people who lived there, and yes, man, I'd stop by there every once in a while.
So you were basically house sitting for CJ and Michelle.
Yes, sir.
But this is not a apartment building, right? This is like a flop house. People are renting rooms or hanging out in rooms.
I wouldn't call it that. And the thing is you know, because that's a fairly derogatory term. And
Okay, the question is very simple. It's not a rentable apartment building where you rent rooms.
Okay, to put it this way, was the landlord doing something illegal? Sure. Did everybody else know that
It's
they
not the
weren't supposed to
question,
be there?
Mr. Tucker.
Well, I don't know what you're asking.
The question is very specific.
Okay, be
Okay,
specific.
it's not a place where you rent apartments. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, because they had apartments there for rent.
Okay. There were actual legitimate apartments for rent in this
They're
warehouse.
and that's why I was answering your question the way I did. Legitimate? No, the landlord was not. He was he's subletting this thing, and he built apartments in it.
So you were house sitting for your friends, right?
Yes.
And that's the only reason you were even staying at the place at that point in time.
Yes.
But you didn't have another place to live, right? You were going. You said
No, I mean the
house.
thing is, I was actually saving up for a boat. I actually had money in my pocket.
Okay, I didn't ask you about money in your pocket. You were actually staying at a homeless shelter known as COPS.
Yes,
Is that
I was.
correct?
Yes, I was.
All right. So you didn't have a permanent home,
No.
and you did your share of partying during this time,
Yes.
right? You said it was Fantasy Fest, and this is what you do at Fantasy Fest. You tie one on for a couple of weeks. You said, right?
Oh yeah, around Fantasy Fest time, yeah, of course.
Goes on for a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, yeah, probably every Fantasy Fest I've ever been to.
Yes.
Showing my whiskey for identification. You recognize that?
Sure do.
And what is that?
That would be me.
Is that how you looked at back in November?
It sure is.
Let's see, move in, W.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor. I'm just wondering what the relevance of what I looked like back then. But,
I mean, if there's an objection.
no,
whether
it's
what-
okay. We can go ahead and put it in.
All right, so Nita's date's next in order.
18.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. So this is how you look back in 2017, right?
Hmm?
Pretty full goatee.
Oh, yeah. Big full goatee.
Big full goatee, right? Kind of thing that would be hard to cover if you were putting a mask on that stopped at the chin, right?
I wouldn't say that. I actually wouldn't say that
Wouldn't
because
agree with
I
that?
mean, again, that would be speculation. So I'll object.
Okay, so you don't agree that it would be hard to cover if you just had a simple face mask?
I'm not going to agree to that at all. Because, man, again, I'm not saying.
Certainly
it
easier
would,
to-
I'm not saying it wouldn't.
Certainly easier to cover with a neck gaiter, right? You pull the neck gaiter up, it covers the mouth, the chin, everything.
Well, the thing is here's the thing: is that whole neck gaiter thing. I didn't know what one was until after I heard your client say it. Or
Didn't
I
know
should
what a
say
neck
not
gaiter
your
was.
client, but whatever.
Didn't know what a neck gaiter was.
No, I didn't actually. To be honest.
All right, so now you're living at this warehouse. You know Rory Wilson, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You guys are hanging out now and then, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Partying
like I said,
together?
I don't know. Like again, I didn't go over there all the time because April and I did not get along. So I'm not trying to hang out with her too much.
April didn't like you.
No, she did not.
You didn't like her.
No, I did not actually. Now, did we hang out sometimes? Sure. And I remember there's times we did party. That was like I remember one time we went downtown. Rory Wilson, because again, here's the thing: is I remember this during the hurricane. They had, was it the hogfish? They were
Mr.
giving-
Tucker, I'm going to cut you off, sir. There's no question pending. Did you hang out socially or not with April Walker and Rory
No,
Wilson?
April Walker, I tried not to.
Okay.
And I'm not saying she didn't come looking for Rory a couple times, but yeah, I tried not to. But Rory Wilson, yes, I did hang out with hhim on a few occasions.
And you heard that
Excuse
out.
me one second. Is that exhibit being published or are you gonna take it back to the?
Oh, I've already published it, Judge. I
Okay,
already-
so
Okay.
we're gonna either put it on the podium or let's bring it to the
Okay.
clerk. Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Tucker, so you heard the testimony, right? You heard that there was an allegation that you threatened April Walker.
Oh, I've heard that testimony, but testimony wasn't true.
So you didn't threaten
Oh no.
Wilson's pregnant, 9
Oh,
months
no.
pregnant girlfriend.
Oh no.
You
No,
actually
no.
felt bad for her because she was put on the ground during the
Yes,
raid.
I did. And man, look, even if I don't like somebody, again, seeing them on the ground in that position when she's 8 months pregnant, yes, that's not cool. That's bottom line. I didn't like her, but that doesn't mean you put her on the ground in that position.
Now, you testified that you went up to CVS with Rory Wilson that night.
No, I did not.
When did you and Rory Wilson go to CVS for you
To
to
tell you
get
the honest
smoked?
truth, that was put to me by investigators. They said that, but again, I told you I was drunk that day, and I'm sitting there and I tried to remember it, and man, I'm sitting there going, I don't remember doing that.
But you just testified to this jury that you went to CVS to get
Oh,
cigarettes.
I went to
wasn't it?
Tom Thumb
Tom
to get
Thumb, okay.
cigarettes, and it wasn't
Tom
with
Thumb.
Rory Wilson. It was with Travis.
With Travis.
Right.
You and Travis went. Let's
So
talk
let's
about
get the story
Travis.
straight.
You and Travis were acquaintances, right?
Yes, we were acquaintances.
Okay. Travis was
Ooh,
staying
he
at the
said, get your
warehouse as
story
well, right?
straight.
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, you and Travis were both staying upstairs in the warehouse, right?
Yes. Yeah, when I was staying in CJ and Michelle's room, yes.
Travis was in another room upstairs.
Yes, he was upstairs. But you got to remember, he also went to jail. So, I mean, he wasn't there for a second. So,
Right? But he came back about a week later, right?
to be honest, I don't remember how long it was. I know I was at work when he went to jail.
Let me ask you, Mr. Tucker, was Travis there the day of the raid?
That's the thing is, he wasn't there in the beginning,
Mhm.
right? Because the man, he wasn't there.
Was he there when they took you down and put you in the police car?
No, he wasn't there for that.
Was he there when they took
He
you
wasn't
off
there
to-
for that part of it. At least not that I know of, right?
Was he there when
wasn't
they took you off to jail?
Was he there no. So when I went to jail, I was at COTS. And when I went to jail, they didn't grab me from the warehouse. They grabbed me from COTS.
The night of the raid, they didn't take you down and then let you go?
They did take me down and let me go, but that wasn't taking me to jail. That was taking me down and interrogating me all night.
Okay, so the night they took you down to interrogate you, was Travis there when you guys left the warehouse to go down and be
Hold on,
interrogated?
hold on. Let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. What, please repeat the question.
The night of the raid,
Right, gotcha.
when they took you down, not to jail, but to question you.
Right, gotcha.
Was Travis at the warehouse when you guys left to go to the police station?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
And how
'Cause
did you get to the police station that night?
I
they
got
took you?
there in a squad car in handcuffs.
Okay. Now, let's see. You said that while you were after you got arrested, you were in jail and you got reacquainted with an old high school friend of yours.
I thought that wasn't relevant.
You just testified to it, sir.
Okay, well, in that case, yes, I did.
I'm going to ask you, just answer the questions if you could.
Yeah.
And if there's a relevance objection, you can make it,
Thank you.
but you don't need to question me.
Okay.
You said you were in jail
Yes.
and you got reacquainted with this high
Yes.
school wife or girlfriend of yours who became your wife.
Well, actually, again, she wasn't my high school girlfriend. She wasn't, she was a friend that I knew from when I was 14 years old. And yes, I hadn't seen her in 33 years.
And you guys ended up getting married, right?
Yes, we did.
And she is actually very wealthy, isn't she?
Multimillionaires.
I beg your pardon?
Multimillionaires.
And you guys are you married today to her?
Yes, I am.
Going beyond, I'm sorry, but I cut him off of your objection, and
Okay, Judge, well, he just testified about his wife.
he mentioned it and you touched upon within the scope, but I believe
Okay.
this is beyond the scope.
I have
and
no problem talking about my wife.
Okay,
I understand, but I do.
all right, so now you're not in jail the entire time waiting for your trial, right?
No, that's not true. I was in jail for 2 years.
And then you actually got out pending your
Yeah.
trial.
$2 million bond.
Let's talk about Paula, your relationship with Paula Belmont.
Okay.
You just testified that you weren't great friends in the beginning. You just kind of knew of each other, right?
That is true.
She testified you'd never been to the treehouse, but that's not accurate, right? Because you testified you'd actually been there
Well,
3 times.
I don't remember her ever testifying to that, but she may not have remembered it. It was one time. That's it.
I thought you said 3 times. You've been
No,
there.
I've been there 3 times, but Paula, and she woke me up one time yelling at me,
Okay.
because man, I wasn't supposed to be there. Apparently, I don't know, but man, the thing is, she woke me up and she was yelling at me. I don't even know if she remembers it.
And now describe your relationship with Paula today.
Paula's one of my best friends.
One of your best friends.
Yes.
All right. To show you what's been previously marked for
He did, Gail. He's like, if you're not going to object, I'm going to object on your behalf. Oh, JC, do you have an ex?
They depict me and Paula at the hospital when I'm trying to make her feel better and making funny faces at the camera.
When were these shots taken?
Very recently.
Judge, at this time, it's easy to move in states exhibit S for identification.
Any objection?
Nope.
All right, admit S,
19A and B.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no, you guys, we all kind of got that question answered, right? And just so you guys are aware, I meant an X. When I asked JC if she had an X, I meant, does she have Twitter?
So you said these were taken recently, like in the last 2 weeks?
Actually, you want to know exactly which day? I think I can remember.
Sure, go ahead.
It was the day that I actually, went over there to check on her because she said, she said that, she was, her doctor said that it had taken it worse. It was the day before I came in here and asked for the motion.
And then she lay in bed with her. Didn't she have some kind of an infectious disease or something?
Hence the bodysuit.
But she had no mask on that picture.
That's true.
Tongue's hanging out?
Took a chance. I was trying to make her feel better.
And you said you become pretty good friends with her, right?
Like I said, she's one of my best friends.
Well, what's changed? Now you said you were not always friends and now you're best friends with her. What changed?
Well, I don't know if you know the story of how that happened, but I'll go ahead and tell it to you if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Paula was a victim in the crime, right? And now I am an accused murderer at that point, right? And here it is when this all happened, that makes it so that I can't talk to Paula, right? I'm not allowed to communicate with her. That makes sense, right? They had a protective order that immediately went in and I couldn't talk to her. Paula, she gets diagnosed with COPD, right? And Paula, she actually files a motion with the court, right? Because she wants to, and she goes on the press and she starts saying this on the press, right? She wants to apologize to me for her role in anything that they've done to me. That's what she says.
So she's
And the judge
apologizing to you.
She wants to. She can't talk to me, right? So she wants to.
Now, you're aware in the beginning she couldn't ID the second person, right?
Look, I'm aware in the beginning.
Very simple question. You
Look,
are aware, yes or no, that in the beginning, when she was first spoken
Mr.
to,
Mansfield,
she could not, Mr. Tucker,
you're
listen to
asking me
the
to
question,
remember
okay?
6 years ago and
It's
then
a very simple
what I
question.
thought then.
Are you aware?
Gentlemen, let him finish the question and you can answer.
Yeah, let me answer it.
He hasn't finished the question.
Okay.
Go ahead. Mr.
Ask away.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are you aware that 6 years ago, when she was first interviewed by the police, she could not ID the second person? Are you aware of that? Yes or no?
I'm going to tell you, I'm aware that she could not positively ID the second person, man, when this first happened. No.
And she was able to identify Roy Wilson, but not the second person, correct?
Yes, she did not positively ID the second person.
Well, she said she didn't get a good look at the second person, right?
That's not true.
She said that she was focused on Roy
you're-
Wilson at the time and
I
that
object, Your
the
Honor.
second person,
I object, Your Honor.
she
He's
couldn't get a
asking me to
look
go
at.
what I know from video and what I know from police reports now. You know,
Let's
that's,
sustain the objection. There are varying statements that she's made.
Yep.
So, at one point she said it, but presumably you're aware of other statements.
right.
Okay.
Because again, I watched.
Good
all the
job,
videos.
Tucker.
So
Good
let's go
job,
back to that first night
Tucker.
when she's interviewed. She says she can't ID the second person, right? Didn't get a good
Excuse
look
me,
at him.
hold on. Excuse me, which night are we talking about?
Night of the crime when she's
Okay.
being interviewed.
Again, you're asking me to go to video, you're asking me to go to police reports, and that is hearsay. So
Are
I'll
you
object.
aware that she was
Object.
unable to identify the second person?
Excuse me?
Are you aware she was unable to identify the second person
At which time period?
the night of the crime?
Again, you're asking me to go to police reports, you're asking me to commit hearsay.
Simple question, sir.
So objection.
I'm going to overrule that objection.
Okay.
It's just your awareness
Okay.
of one
My
point in
awareness-
time and one statement.
My awareness at the time, right? And if I can, and I'm going to have to remember this because the Lord knows I've gone over this a million times. So I'm going to have to think about my memory here. At the time, as far as even any statements by Paula, hold on a second. Because, okay, I was in jail when this first happened.
I'm asking you
Right,
as
no,
you sit here,
sir,
Mr.
you're asking
Tucker,
me to
I'm
remember.
asking you as you sit here today, not where your mind was back then, as you sit here today.
Okay. As I sit here today,
Are you aware that she could not ID the second person
And
on the
you're
night
asking-
it happened?
okay, and you're asking me to commit hearsay.
I don't believe that's the case, so you
Oh, okay.
can answer it, and
Okay.
remember, you'll have the opportunity
Okay,
to read.
as
Mr.
I
Tucker,
sit
Mr.
here
Tucker,
today.
Just let me
Oops, sorry.
finish. You'll have the opportunity for redirect.
Okay, thank you.
So if you, after this is finished, want to elaborate on certain things, you may, but in terms of succinct answer to this question, you do
Yeah.
need to give.
I'll give you a succinct answer to this question. Okay, it depends on the time period as far as Paula. As today, I could definitely tell you that different time periods, she said different things. I can say that.
And you're aware that the very night it happened, she did not identify the second person?
The very night it happened, again, that's the only reason I would even remember this right now is because we've been going over it recently.
Correct.
And I'm going over it, and she had varying statements at that point.
Well, you're certainly aware that at the perpetuated testimony,
Yes.
she was able to say it wasn't you as the second person,
I'm al-
right?
I'm also aware that she was, again, coerced into making statements by police. So, okay,
Didn't ask you about that, sir.
Okay.
Very simple question.
well, if you're
You
gonna,
were
if you're gonna
aware-
lead me, if
You
you're
are
gonna lead me-
aware that during her perpetuated testimony that you sat and watched,
Yes,
Yes,
You
guys,
observed
like
her
and subscribe.
stating
Thank you.
it
Thank
was Tucker's
you.
not the second guy, right?
yep, I sure did.
That was 4 years after the crime was committed.
That was 4
about
years.
3 years.
That was 4 years after the crime was committed.
Well, September of 20 would be
Yeah.
about 3 years, right?
Okay, somewhere in there. But here's the thing.
And there's no question pending, sir. I'm asking the questions you're
Okay.
answering.
Go ahead.
Okay? That's
Go.
how this works.
Okay, go for it. Ask me another question. I'll take any ones you got.
Great. Good to hear it.
That's why I put myself up here.
Prosecution is being a smart
Now, she testified that
ASS.
she had talked to your wife through Facebook.
Wow.
Did you also communicate with her through Facebook?
No, I was not allowed.
So you never had any communications with her?
No, not on Facebook at that time.
Have you had any? You saw her at McDonald's after the crime, right?
Yes, but I was not under arrest at that point. I was not under a protective order at that point.
Okay, but when you saw her at McDonald's,
He says, great. Good to hear it. I would have loved to have seen his face because you could tell the way he said that he had a poop eating grin on his face, right? Yeah, prosecution is being super unlikable. He's don't get me wrong. We expect this from Tucker, right? But it's one thing for the prosecution to come up there and be like, okay, now I'm going to do my thing. I have you on the stand. This is trial. I'm going to grill you, right? But then it's a whole totally other whenever you get this smart hind end attitude. Yeah, that was kind of gross.
you guys had a conversation there, right?
Yes, we did.
And did you tell her anything about the crime when you saw her at McDonald's?
I told her what had happened to me about the police interrogating me. And she did ask me some questions. I remember that. I remember answering, different questions as she asked. I remember she told me her experience. She told me how horrible it was. I remember, like I said, sitting there feeling like, you talk about feeling, God, not sorry for somebody. That's the wrong way to say it.
So you
but
communicated with,
whatever.
is it fair to say you communicated with her at McDonald's?
Yes.
Now, is it your testimony today that you've not communicated with her directly at all from that moment until today?
No. When did I
Okay.
say that?
So tell us about those communications. You said you weren't allowed to
Okay.
talk to her, right?
Yes, sir. And I
Okay.
also said
And when did that end?
I also said she filed a motion with the court to be able to talk to me. And that, yes, she was going on the press saying these things, that she wanted to apologize to me. Judge Jones granted that motion,
And
and
you
she
had
was allowed to
communication.
talk to me.
And
And
then
that's and now we
you've
are.
had general communications with her ever since.
He was
Sorry.
still testifying.
I'm just telling
No,
you.
I'm not talking to you. I'm saying, if you weren't complete with your answer, go ahead.
Yeah, look, there comes a point where
Judge, again, there's no question
No,
pending.
well, he was still answering the
Thank you.
last question.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
go finish your answer to the last question.
Judge Jones granted the order allowing us to be able to talk. And that day, yeah, I was in tears.
Okay, so you got the in tears part out. The jury heard it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, thanks.
All right, great. Let's move on. So you've talked to her admittedly since then,
Oh, quite a bit.
quite a bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, quite a bit.
You remember her taking a trip to California?
Vaguely, yes.
She posted pictures of it, right?
This
I
prosecutor's
remember
got my
she
eye
posted pictures of
twitching.
Woody.
Of who?
She likes Woody from, I guess, I forget what the name of the movie is. It's some Disney thing, man. But she likes a character named Woody.
Oh, Woody from Toy Story.
That's what it is. Thank you.
Okay. 1 minute, please, Judge.
All right?
I'm not sure if we could talk at that time, though.
Yeah, he's just being a massive douche canoe. Not letting him complete his answers, right, Lee? He should be more professional. Tucker has ignorance on his side. The prosecutor knows better. I'm glad the judge jumped in because that was not okay that he objected and then went down the same road. True. I think that gave Tucker a reminder that he could object. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are saying, wow. Starting to pee Lee off too, right? Super unprofessional. Yeah, douche canoe.
Violet.
Ugh.
Wouldn't he normally have to show this?
I'm
to-
sorry?
Show this to me before he brings it?
Not necessarily. It's
Just
fine.
checking.
That's fine. He's
I'm
got
just-
it.
it's weird.
He's certainly.
Oh, that was cute.
And then, go from there.
Thank you.
That was cute. He was just saying because he was getting ready to like put these things into evidence, right? These photos into evidence over there to the court clerk chick. And Tucker is like, Isn't he supposed to be showing me those things before he like puts them into evidence or whatever?" And the judge is like, "Well, not necessarily. I mean, I thought it was cute. Um, Steph says, "What a crap show. All these people need to just go to jail." I agree. I agree. Volatile personalities, yes. Prosecution prosecution is treating Tucker as a hostile witness. Ugh. Shalhoun said, "I missed all this stuff, so I'm eating it up." Right? I'm telling you, this has been crazy. This right here, though, on the stand, this is like, um, what do you call it? What is it that they call it at the end of like the 4th of July show? Like you go watch the fireworks and the very last um fireworks that they set off. Oh, the finale. Yeah, this is like the finale, right? So prosecutor is trying to pass fast ones. Tucker's holding his own. Yeah. Except the prosecutor is the one being hostile. True. This train has been off the rails for a while. That is a fact. Entertaining grand finale. Yes. He's going to try to get away with what he can because he's betting that Tucker won't know. Hey, all late, so I fell asleep trying to catch up on 1.5. Hey, dearie dear. Good to see you, JB's mama. I hope you got some good rest today. All right. And we're going to continue.
Tucker, show me with the marks. Tango 125 composite.
Okay.
Recognize these photos?
Yes, they're from Paula Belmont's Facebook page, and the thing is, I don't think we were talking at that time
How do you know her from her Facebook page?
because I've seen her Facebook page.
So, do you remember seeing these on her Facebook page?
Yeah, I don't understand the relevance of them.
So at this time, I seem to move in with the previously marked as Tango 1 through 5.
Is there any objection?
Again, I'd like to know the relevance of the pictures.
Okay, you're objecting to
Yeah, relevance.
Okay, so we'll have to have a bench conference then. So come on around.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, Tucker. Good job for standing your own there, buddy. Um uh yeah, this is going off the rails on a crazy train for sure. Um this train turned into an all-terrain vehicle long time ago. Never mind, fell off the rail. For sure. Um QB Design says, "I have to go back and watch this morning. I started to watch with my mouth open, but wanted to come hang with y'all." I'll tell you, our jaws have been on the floor more often than not through this whole thing. I'm getting yawny again, you guys. Oh, yawn, yawn, yawn. Yawn, yawn, yawn. I have finished a couple little small sections on my diamond painting, though, since we've been sitting here. Well, since earlier this morning. So that's nice. Mickey said, I know zero about this case. So do y'all think he's guilty? No, I don't. I don't think he's guilty. And if he is guilty, they don't have enough evidence to prove it, in my opinion. They have zero. They don't even have what I would consider circumstantial evidence. All they have is a testimony from a guy that was involved with the crime, saying that he was
All right, so
involved.
let's pick it back up. You're aware of her trip to California, right?
Yes, I am.
She took pictures with Woody, you said, right?
I think she takes them pretty much on every trip she goes on.
All right. Ever since that order was lifted, you've had pretty steady communication with her. Is that fair to say?
Fairly steady. Sometimes, man, a little more, sometimes less.
Now, you talked about this friend, Big somebody. What's his name again?
Big Scott.
Big Scott.
Yep.
Big Scott was staying at the warehouse with everybody?
No, he was not. He was there that night, yes, but
Which night is that, sir?
that would be, I guess that would be the night of the crime. Because again, you know, like I said, I went go get cigarettes with Travis, come back, and Big Scott is at the door.
And so Big Scott, was he a friend of yours or an acquaintance? How would you describe him?
Actually, he's a friend, you know, and he was a friend of, I think he's a friend of a couple people there.
And at some point, are you aware of Big Scott telling you and Travis and Rory, I don't know what you guys are plotting, but I want nothing to do with it? Do you remember that comment?
No.
No?
No.
When did you first learn that Mr. Bonnett had been murdered?
I told you that already. I told you that already.
Okay, but you need.
I didn't. Well, actually, I shouldn't say I knew Mr. Bonnet got murdered at that point. At that point, the first time I heard anything about what had happened at the treehouse, and it wasn't even the treehouse where, you know, they told me.
Me
somebody
too,
got stabbed in
Kel.
the
I
CVS
don't
parking
think there
lot.
was a third person
So
ever.
the way you heard about it, the stabbing
Yes.
was alleged to have happened in the
Right.
CVS parking lot.
Right. The next time I heard about it, I was at the police station.
Is that when you found out it was actually at this treehouse location?
Yes.
And that's when you were talking to Detective Pitcher, right?
That would be Detective Pitcher, Danielle Malone, and Captain Phelps.
Now, at some point, didn't you tell Detective Pitcher what you told this jury today, that you were not involved and that you were sleeping off, you were
Yeah.
drunk and sleeping it off or something?
Yeah, I told him, man. I told him the same thing. I couldn't remember much, man, from the night. And yes, I remember passing out. I remember waking up.
Right.
Because I needed cigarettes, and I went to the Tom Thumb, and Travis went with me.
And that's what you told Detective Pitcher, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you even told Detective Pitcher that just ask Travis, he'll back you up, right?
I thought so. I didn't know anything was wrong.
All right. Well, Travis didn't back you up, did he?
No, he didn't.
Travis is.
So QB Designs says they have video of the other people coming and going. They don't have video of him coming and going. So the only video that they have shown around the crime scene or anything, there was no like you couldn't tell whose faces there. You couldn't see faces. You could barely even see like figures. You could see figures, but that was really it. You couldn't even the video was horrible.
There's a
Came
good reason
clean
for that.
and gave a statement to the police, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And
Okay.
you know,
It's just a
again,
yes, no?
yes, he
Use your
did.
commentary on it.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember when you saw Paula McDonald's in this whole timeline? When did you run into her at McDonald's? The very next day? Was it 2 days later? 3 days later?
It was, let's see, hold on. It would have been, okay, because the raid, suppose, you know, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it, that happens on the 21st. Going into the 22nd is when I'm literally being interrogated all night. The next, that day, whatever that day is, that would probably be, that would be the 22nd again, because it's that morning. So, okay, 22nd, it would be on the 22nd.
Okay. And let me ask you, Mr. Tucker, you were making pretty good money, right? 300 an hour to put these blue tarps up?
Yeah, I was doing all right.
What's the reason you hadn't gotten a place? You were still living in these
Well, because
temporary
again,
places.
I lived on a boat before, right? And as I testified, I was trying to save up for a new boat. There are going to be plenty of cheap ones around, but here's the thing: is I don't like paying outrageous rents that are in Key West. I'd rather buy a boat and live on the water.
Now, you said you'd passed out that day drinking these fireballs, right?
Yes, sir.
What time in that, like what time, take us through that day, the timeline for that day. When were you drinking these fireballs?
I know. Look, it's like I said, I don't really remember the day that well. I remember drinking during the day. I do remember that. I don't even remember all who was there. I know there were other people that came in and out. I know I passed out somewhere along the lines, but asking me specifics, especially 6 years later, I couldn't tell you.
So you started drinking these Red Balls. Was the sun still up?
That would be Fireball, sir. And
Fireballs.
yes, the sun was still up, while I was drinking. That is true.
All right. Do you remember getting out of bed and go right to the partying phase, or did you do something else before it started that day?
I already testified to that. I told you that.
Okay. Well, I'm asking again.
Okay.
I appreciate you reminding me.
I'm just saying is I woke up at some point in the time and I went and got cigarettes at the Tom Thumb, and I came back and Travis was with me, and yes, Big Scott was there. I told you what happened after that.
But I'm talking about earlier in the day when you got out of bed that day. Did you go do something, or did you just start drinking?
No, actually, I'm pretty sure because if I'm drinking during the day, I had a day off. So, if I'm drinking during the day, I had a day off. So, yeah, I would imagine I had the day off.
And do you remember passing out that day?
Yeah. Remember passing out? I don't know if that's a proper term, but no,
Okay.
I don't remember passing out.
Don't remember passing out?
I remember I passed out somewheres along the lines, but yeah, I don't. I guess I'm being too literal here, but I remember. Yes, I went to sleep sometime during the day and night. I don't know.
And do you remember what time you woke up?
No,
Day or night?
night.
Police cars already out and about?
Policing cars were already up there on Laurel Avenue. I could see I could see the lights from the Tom Thumb parking lot. I could see all the lights that were up on Laurel Avenue.
Do you know how many times Mr. Bonnett was stabbed?
At this point, yes.
So now, I guess your story is that this is all being pinned on you, right? That you didn't do
Well,
this.
You would know better than anybody, Mr. Mansfield.
Oh, would I? But I
Yes.
wasn't there. You were. So why don't you tell me? Are you telling me this was all pinned on you?
I hate to tell you again, Mr. Mansfield.
It's very simple,
You
Mr.
just
Tucker.
said
Is
that
your
I was
story
there and you have
today?
no proof of
Is your
that.
story
Sir.
today that you were?
Sir.
This is all being made up and that you didn't do this.
Yes, this is it. That is my story all day,
Okay.
and I've said it since day one.
So this is just the big Bubba system going after you to pin this on you.
Yeah, and Mr. Mansfield. I can answer that. Would you like me to answer it? Would you like me to tell you how I know that? You said you didn't want to go into that.
Well, you know what? Let's not go into that because I'm pretty sure what your opinion is has no factual basis to it.
Really?
So in other words, this is your theory that this is all being pinned on you by the big Bubba system.
Your Honor, I would object unless he wants to let me go into the things he doesn't want to go into.
I'll sustain that last question as argumentative.
I have nothing else.
All right.
Thank you.
So now
Can I
you
read your-
hate
Thank
the
God.
correct in the same fashion, but just remember it's within the scope of the cross. We're not, all right?
Okay, thank you. I don't even know if I want to read. I don't know.
Well,
what I
you
wanna
don't
read.
have to.
I'm just trying. Let me think about what
All
Mr.
right.
Mansfield just asked me
All right,
because
take a
I was
moment.
kind of getting blasted there.
If you need a moment, take a moment.
Thank you.
Mm.
And-
Not mandatory redirect,
No.
just if you want the opportunity.
Right. Again, yes, again, I think I would like to address that last thing there, but I mean, yes, I do know that I'm being set up yes, I'm being set up for this because I'm here. That's an obvious thing. I won't go into what, again, the things we're not supposed to be talking about right now. I yes. But, you know, I do, let's see, as far as, everything else, I mean, everything else you just asked me, I'd already talked about, so I don't think there's anything else I need to say.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. You can step down.
Oh, wow, that was pretty quick. Wow.
Time for an afternoon break, folks. How about, till, I'm just looking at the clock, 1:55, no, 2:55.
Are you referring to the
2:55,
big
same
Bubba
same
system,
protocol.
Lee? Is that what you're
Step
referring
outside the
to?
jury room, let the bailiff know.
Well, the reason he said that is because apparently Tucker wrote a big massive Facebook post last night, and he said something about the Bubba system, and so that's why the prosecution is wording it that way. But I've also heard him mention I've heard him say that again. I've heard him say that before
Made my previous ruling, so that completes the
within
case.
this
I don't know if
trial.
you're gonna make a motion, renewed motion now or after the rebuttal, which,
You talking about a renewed motion for acquittal?
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, I would like to do that. I'd like to do that after the rebuttal, I guess.
All right.
What time is it?
It's, what, 2:38, basically.
Okay, so I don't know how long they plan on doing that.
Well, I mean, I don't know how long this video and the deposition excerpt shouldn't take very long. I don't know how long the video is. Okay, so that's, their
And we did
rebuttal isn't gonna take that long.
And we did agree we're gonna play the full first video, right?
Yes.
Cool.
All right, well, let's all take a break, and then we'll have the jury, then we'll have the rebuttal, then we'll excuse them, then we'll have the argument for the motion, and I assume that the state's got a proposed set of jury instructions?
We do, Judge.
And I presume you've shared them with the defendant, or will?
I'll give him his copy right now, Judge. Here's the jury instructions and the verdict forms.
Okay. I
No,
guess,
I'm gonna give you hard copies.
Okay, that's fine.
and we'll talk about, all right, we'll be back. It's 2:55.
Oh, is Tucker deliberately trying to irritate the prosecutor and rile him up? Well, probably. Tammy, there was somebody on Twitter had posted something about him sharing a Facebook post last night or yesterday or something. So, yeah. I have to give the judge props for his attitude and actions. Yeah, I think he has kind of calmed down a little bit. Probably trying to throw him off his game. Oh, Lord, have mercy. All right, well, let's hold on to your horses because we're getting ready to go into a time warp here. Y'all ready? Got your seatbelts on? Hold on to your britches. Let's speed it up a little because, we are a little bit behind here, so. I don't know how long they said they were going to take a break for. Okay. All righty then. Wee, says Morgana. QB Design says most likely, but the prosecutor is supposed to be the professional and should be used to this. He's not supposed to get swept up in it. I know. And he was like super like in Tucker's grill, man. How he's seeing the poopy side. I almost said it, Steph. How he's seeing the poopy side of the prosecution, so he's being more unbiased, I think.
Please be seated. Okay, so you're all back.
Probably, maybe, Steph. I think that that's very
State as a
possible.
Brief rebuttal case, and so let's bring the jury in, please.
There we go. All right. So he's calling that investigator back. Oh, that's okay, Tammy. Not a problem.
Thank you. Please be seated, members of the jury. Welcome back to court. Defense's case is completed at this point. The state is going to be given an opportunity to present a case in rebuttal.
Yes, sir. State, well, thank you, Judge. The state's going to call Officer Danielle Malone.
Yes. Please come forward through the gate, approach the deputy in front of the witness stand. That's good right there. Turn and face the clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Please have a seat on the witness stand.
May I proceed, Judge? Thank you, sir. Ms. Malone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're no longer an officer, right? So it's just Ms. Malone?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Malone, I called you back to the stand on our rebuttal case. I want to ask you a few questions. Now, the night of November 17th of 2017, how were you employed at that time?
I was a detective with the Major Crimes Unit.
And were you dispatched to the hospital to conduct an investigation?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose in having you go to the hospital that night?
Was to meet with the victim, Paula Belmonte,
The victim of what?
of the robbery, murder.
And was this the same night that it had happened?
Yes, sir.
And what hospital did you report to?
Lower Keys Medical Center.
You remember about what time you went there that night?
It's probably around 10-ish.
I mean,
At night.
Clearly nighttime, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to make contact with Miss Belmont?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to ask her questions about what had just happened?
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time.
Okay. So you're not moving into evidence? Yeah.
Sheesh, another sidebar? Wow, I mean, they've just got started. Dun, 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 dun. Tammy said he was treating him as a hostile witness. Lee says, gee, you might miss me if I decide I want to participate. LOL.
Well,
This is who I asked about earlier. If I'm there, says Lee. Here, you mean?
Yes, sir.
I hope you're here.
Yes, sir.
And did you have a chance to watch this
Yes, sir.
Does this video accurately and fairly depict that conversation?
From what it seems like, yes.
Does it appear to be altered or tampered with in any way?
No, sir.
So at this time, I would seek to move in our video here.
Which has been marked for identification as, I don't know if it's been marked.
Something here, Thumb Drive, for Paula, Belmont, Center Hospital.
Yes.
It's been marked as you.
Okay, judges, they would seek to move in what's been marked as uniform into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, I just would like to get a little closer look.
Yes, you may do so. Okay. You for identifications admitted into evidence as the state's next in order number 19. It's going to be published. The defendant's going to position himself as he has done previously to be able to get a good vantage point as to it. And we want to be sure that, as always, you can see it and hear it.
Lee, if you're not there, who will we have tell us about paint on vehicles and stuff?
Okay.
Smaller guy? Something just look like big, like something long and big.
So this is not the portion or the one that you.
This is just a small segment of the overall video which we're going to.
Give us a moment here. Some technical difficulties.
Morgana, Lee is saying that you only want him there so that you can throw him under the bus.
I can't wash my hands because.
That looks like right.
Your friend Todd? He was at the house? No, right now, okay? I don't know, I'm here to talk to you, okay? I'm Danielle, okay? I need you to tell me about the person who did this, or the persons that did this.
Okay, I don't know what, the one that I do know, what was on top of you in 7, he was living in Detroit. But
When you say big, what do you mean by big?
they told him that he was big.
Okay, stocky, muscular, fat,
Stocky, big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he
How
had
much taller?
a little bit, but it's like soft, yeah,
Okay, so about 6 foot.
He had been at the house earlier, and then we had a very plain test or something like that, I don't know, because I was upstairs. He's a friend of his, he was like,
Okay.
and if they, I kept saying, she's gonna have somebody come and beat you up, get me up, still in line. She kept saying this, she tried to have Chris think on to do it, she asked Melissa Dance to do it. Matt put 15-day notice on her door yesterday.
Okay.
But it was the one that brought him to the house originally. And last year, I say you're saying that she knows, all they know is the name was Detroit.
His nickname's Detroit,
But he's some kind of warehouse.
okay,
Warehouse somewhere, Front Street, I believe.
on Front Street, okay, is he black, light,
It was last,
how old is he?
in my age group, I'm 53, somewhere in that area.
In his 40s or 50s?
He's something like that.
In his 50s?
Yeah.
Okay, any scars, marks,
I don't
tattoos?
know. He's got his friend online.
Okay, but you've seen him, did you, any scars or tattoos?
Nothing I'm aware of, no.
Okay, what kind of clothes was he wearing? Okay. 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 Well, describe the other person.
If you want to get a chance to get the person, he was on top of me. The other person was smaller, little, big, smaller, little like her. He was something real big with me.
The smaller guy?
Something just looked like they were big, with something long, big. Something I don't know. It was not small.
Okay, was he white, black, Hispanic, male or female?
He was on her too.
And there was a male?
Yes.
Okay, so a smaller, black male. About how old was he?
I don't know. But I had to that Detroit and then downstairs in Matt's house, and I see his fingerprints out of the end of it.
Okay.
Just he hung out there like that.
Okay, the other person. How old was he?
I don't know. He was completely covered. I had a 200-pound man on top of me, and I was just catching glimpses.
Okay.
Roger is the one who asked about that. Roger, that he doesn't believe somewhere. Roger Luggett. Yes.
Roger Luggett?
Luggett.
Rugged?
Luggett. R-U-G-I-T-T. He's the one that got beat up by the other guy.
Ms. Malone, she said I had a 200-pound man on top of me, and I was catching glimpses. Who was she referring to when she said glimpses?
The second person.
She was only catching glimpses of the second person.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he lives in the city? Roger lives in the city?
And this Sunday, he's probably staying there. He's a neighbor. He's the Lord of God.
Okay.
I know you'll talk to the other two of us there.
How old's Roger?
He's at least 65.
She's crying. They're talking about
Roger would have gone and why he wanted to stay?
the Matthew Bonnett guy.
Roosevelt. Is Roosevelt white, black, or Hispanic? You said his name's Roosevelt Washington? Where's he live at? Okay. No, ma'am. I honestly, I don't know.
I was talking upstairs, and talking upstairs, he said he's not too much, he's not good, he's not bad. That's not video.
So where were you when this all started?
Upstairs, when I stayed upstairs,
Okay, where was Matt?
sleeping downstairs.
Okay.
I can't see him on the top of that, upstairs, that.
explain to me exactly what happened, okay?
I keep running up the stairs, I keep using something up, I turn around, and I do it with my phone. So I keep on saying, where's your purse, where's your purse, where's your purse?
Okay. Did he get your purse? Okay, describe your purse for me, okay?
Well, I keep going like that too. Then we change the purse. He kind of stopped and went, "This is what
Okay.
the backpack is black." And I see the other guy looked up and he said, "I think it's okay, this is what it is." And then I do the one guy, this is hiding on the tree. I keep it downstairs, and I go, "Well, let's-"
What about the other guy? Have you ever seen him before?
So that's honestly, I don't know.
I-
He had an mask on.
Okay.
And I could barely see him because I had two other cameras on top of me, you could see them. I don't have no clue what's going on. We never talked, say word. Other than kept talking, that's it. Another reason why I would. They tell you, we kill you, we kill you. You know, you could kill you, but you could hurt.
She said I had a 200-pound gorilla on me. Who was she talking about?
Rory Wilson.
Did that affect her ability to see the other person?
Yeah, she said she could only catch glimpses.
Anything else in there? What about in your backpack?
My wallet, everything, it's got my ID in it, because it's supposed to fly them for Christmas. Had some jewelry in that, but some change. The keys, so we sell the keys down the road there, you called me, told me about the keys.
Where, down the road, which way down the road?
Somebody asked me,
Who found your keys?
"How do you know?" And my old good friend that I called asked me if they would tell me. When the people took off the car, I heard cars start. Heard the car start.
Well, then where, does Detroit have a car? Okay, so you heard a car start. What did the car sound like?
It just sounded like a car, it wasn't real big loud or anything, it just heard the car start, that was all. It might not have been, might have even been there's, it might have been something come from CVS. In my mind, it was, they went down the steps and then I heard a car.
I'm gonna give you a break, okay? They're gonna clean you out, and I'm gonna be back, okay?
So that, I don't,
Listen. Listen. I know you're upset. But you want us to catch the person who did this to your friend, right? I understand that, and you've been very helpful, okay? Just while they're cleaning you up, just, and see if you can think of anything, okay? Okay. We're gonna do all of that, but okay, and you think it's on Front Street? Honestly, I haven't worked on South Island in a very long time, so I don't know, okay? Can you describe it tonight? Okay. Okay.
Okay, is that pretty much the totality of your discussion with her about her ability to identify the second attacker?
Yes, sir.
now the state is going to, Ms. Malone, I have nothing further for you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, cross-examination.
I move it up a little bit.
Okay, well, there you go, Steph. If you already worked on the website for hours, then it's time to diamond paint.
Okay.
Diamond paint
Ms. Malone, we
at your
had a little
desk
question answer. Just ask you a
because
few questions about this video.
you can diamond paint in bed later.
You said Paula looked upset in that video, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And this is directly after the crime, right?
Yes, sir.
So she's down in the ER, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know if they gave her any medications?
I
I'm
wouldn't
like
ask.
that.
Okay.
I'm like that,
You don't
Steph.
know if she's lucid at this point.
Appeared lucid to me.
Okay. Now, you say she appeared lucid. How many times did she say the name Anthea Clay in that video?
I didn't count.
Okay. Did you testify previously that Anthea Clay was never rise to the level of a suspect?
Correct.
Okay. Did you go and interview Miss Anthea Clay after this?
I did not. No, sir.
Okay. Did anybody?
I believe they did. I don't know who, though.
Okay. Do you remember, again, the first interview video that was done with Anthea Clay?
I wasn't there.
Okay. I think you testified previously that it was how long afterwards?
I believe they met with her that night.
No, the video, the interview video. You
The-
said, if I remember correctly, you testified that it was almost 2 years later.
That they conducted a full interview? Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested?
No,
Okay. Why not?
because she never rose to the level of a murder suspect.
Again, Ms. Malone. Paula, what did she say in that video? Did she say over and over again, this was Anthea Clay? She set this up.
I believe she said that once, and then she stated over repeatedly to talk to Anthea Clay because she knew Detroit.
Actually brought Detroit to the treehouse, correct?
I don't recall them exact words.
We can play it again if we need to.
But I just don't recall them exact words.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, Your Honor, can I go up and, get the video for a second? There's a couple things I'd like to clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
Judge, objection. That's not what she said. She
Yeah,
said she
I
didn't-
will just, wait, okay, I will just sustain the objection as to.
How many times do you think she said it?
I love that QB to signs. That's
Overrule my
cute.
Objection.
How many times she said the name Anthea Clay?
No, the Anthea Clay did this. Anthea Clay set this up, something to that effect.
I recall one time.
Now, I want you to listen to this part, if you wouldn't mind. What did she just say?
She asked me if her friend was dead.
She said her friend's dead, right? Agree? Her friend's dead, right? Now, if you listen to this, tell me what she says instead.
Who called you? Your friend died? He was at the house? Okay.
What she just said there?
He's dead?
Did she just say, my friend Todd, he's at the house, he's dead? What would that make it sound like?
I don't understand.
You watch that little video clip right there. Did she just say, he's at the house, he's my friend, Todd is at the house, he's my friend, he's dead? Something about it.
Yes, sir.
Would that make it sound like she's saying that Todd is dead at the house?
I didn't believe that at the time, no.
I didn't say, I didn't ask you if you believed it, I said, would it make it sound like it?
Judge, I'm going to object. The video speaks for itself.
Well, I'll overrule the objection. Is that what you heard?
No, sir, that's not what I heard. You can replay it, but that's not what I heard.
Who called you? Your friend Todd?
To the house.
He was at the house? Okay.
He's dead.
She said that her friend Todd called her and told her that her friend was dead.
He's dead after she said that Todd was at the house, correct?
Yeah, she said Todd was at the house and that he's dead in a form of a question.
I don't know about the form of the question. I wouldn't say that exactly, but okay. Again, we can agree that this could be confusing, correct?
It was not confusing to me.
Asked and answered. We've covered it.
Unnecessary, confusing, correct?
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. What's the question?
Anyway, got to that part. Okay, and then pull Anthony, but let's go to this.
Say big one.
Jump ahead. Not go too far.
Okay, Mr. Tucker, having a hard time hearing you, the court reporter, so let's.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, Ms. Malone, at the time you were a homicide detective, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Who called you? Your friend Todd?
To the house.
He was at the house? Okay.
Dead. He's dead. Can I see him?
Never know.
I know they jumped on him and knocked him in his bed. It's constantly stabbing. They stabbed him too.
I don't know. I'm here to talk to you, okay?
They called him.
I'm Danielle, okay? I need you to tell me about the person who did this, or the persons that did this.
Okay, I told him one. The one that I do know, one was on top of me, one stabbed me. He was living in Detroit. Big black guy.
When you say big, what do you mean by big?
Big like you big.
And who's Detroit?
Rory Wilson.
Steph, stop it.
They told him that he was big.
Okay, stocky, muscular, fat,
Stocky. Big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he
How much taller?
Yeah.
Okay, so about 6 foot.
He had been in the house earlier and he had been downstairs playing chess or something like that. I don't know if he's upstairs. He's excited as he play.
Okay.
And I kept saying he's gonna have somebody come and beat me up, steal my money.
Sorry about that.
Jewish beer.
Having a little trouble here.
Okay, stop.
What'd she just say there?
She said Anthea Clay and that Anthea Clay was trying to get somebody to beat her up.
And steal her money.
I believe so, yes.
And how many times did she say Anthea Clay right there?
The name, I believe, 3 times.
Okay, 3 times.
He's muscular, fat,
Stocky. Big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he
How
had.
much taller?
Yeah.
Okay, so about 6 foot.
He had been in the house earlier and he had been downstairs playing chess or something like that. I don't know if he's upstairs. He's excited as he play.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured. I kept saying she's gonna have somebody come and beat me up, steal my money. She kept saying this. She tried to have Crystal Dinklocker do it.
What'd she just say there?
She tried to have Crystal Dinklocker do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Did she just say somebody else? She tried to have somebody else do it?
I believe so. I believe Melissa something.
Matt with the 15
Judge, can we come sidebar?
Yes.
I can't sit here and diamond paint and look away from the chat for 5 minutes. Ay, ay. Okay, let me fast forward. Fast forward, fast forward. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, that was a quick sidebar.
What'd you just say there?
She tried to have Crystal Dinklocker do it.
Okay.
Sorry,
Did she just say somebody else? She tried to have somebody else?
Yes.
That was a very quick sidebar. Well, I thought it was. Okay, here we go.
Just said?
April's the one that brought him to the house originally.
Okay.
And April's Anathea Clay. That's her street name.
She knows him. All they know is the name's Detroit. He's warehouse.
So she just said she knows him, right? She knows Roy Wilson. Detroit.
Yes, she knows Detroit.
Okay.
Warehouse somewhere on Front Street, I believe.
On Front Street? Okay, is he black, white? How old is he?
My age group, I'm 53, somewhere in that area.
In his 40s or 50s?
Somewhere in that.
In his 50s? Okay. Any scars, marks, tattoos?
I don't know. He's April's friend.
The April Clay again? She just said
That he's April's friend?
April's friend, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you've seen him, did you, any scars or tattoos?
Nothing I'm aware of, no.
Okay, what kind of clothes was he wearing?
Black boots, not usually wearing any of those shorts, dark shorts and dark sweatshirt, dark. Like that's what this things are.
Okay,
So we had some kind of that, but I didn't know who was, I know what's maybe he came up there.
okay.
Well, I didn't see all the dark, I suppose it was not to me, I thought it was, I couldn't tell the person was even masked because I was in the dark, I didn't know exactly what was saying.
Okay. Well, describe the other person.
Thank you.
I didn't really get a chance to see that person, he was on top of me. The other person was smaller, little, maybe. Okay, smaller, little like her. He had something real big in his hand.
The smaller guy?
Yeah, something, it didn't look like that, but it was big, like something long and big.
No. She testified, I'm sorry. Did she just say that the smaller guy had something big in his hands?
Yes.
And again, we just heard how many times with April, and I lost count. How many times with April and Anathea Clay?
I didn't exactly keep count, but about 5 times she said her name.
Multiple times, right?
Yes.
She knows him, friend, brought him to the treehouse. She set this up. I'm asking. Is that what she said in there?
About Anathea Clay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Again, Ms. Malone, and you say, again, did anybody go and talk to Anathea Clay?
Objection asked and answered.
I'm going to sustain that
Okay.
objection. That's
Okay. Was Anathea Clay ever brought down to the station that night?
Objection asked and answered.
I haven't.
I'll
think I've asked that.
overrule that objection. You can answer the question, ma'am.
To headquarters? Not
Yes.
to my knowledge.
Okay. And she says that, Anathea Clay is a friend of Roy Wilson. Did you know where Roy Wilson was that night?
At that time,
At that time?
I did not know.
You didn't know. Okay. And again, did you know where Anathea Clay was that night?
Me personally, no, I did not.
Did anybody else?
Somebody talked to her that night,
Somebody
yes.
talked to her. Okay. And, but she wasn't brought down to the station, right?
Not to my knowledge.
And again, you know, how many times does she mention the name Detroit in this video?
I didn't count, but it was quite a few.
Quite a few, right? Would you say it was more that she said April Anethea Clay more, or that she said Detroit more?
Probably about equal.
About equal. But Rory Wilson is a suspect at this point, right?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I would ask, with your experiences, that you were experienced homicide detective at this point, correct?
I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm asking, okay, you testified earlier based on your experience and training, that, you know, your knowledge of homicide, you know, being a homicide detective, correct?
I believe I stated my training and knowledge of the case.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you, how long were you a homicide detective for the MCSO?
Judge, objection
Yeah,
beyond the
I-
scope of my direct.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
sustain that
Okay.
objection.
I'll go back. Ms. Malone, again, so Rory Wilson becomes a suspect. Why didn't you not want to ask Anethea Clay? Why didn't she become a suspect at this point?
Objection, Judge, asked and answered.
We'll do it one more time. You can answer the question, ma'am.
Rory Wilson was a suspect because Paula identified Rory Wilson as the man that was beating her and held a knife to her throat.
That wasn't the question.
I literally, again, you know, he became a suspect because she said, I'm just clarifying here. She said that he beat her and put a knife to her throat, right?
Yes, sir.
Got it right. Okay. Okay. And did she just say that Anethea Clay did this? She'd been trying to set her up and have her beat up and have her money stolen from her.
Objection, asked and answered already.
I'll overrule the objection. Didn't she basically say that? You can answer the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So why would Anethea Clay not rise to the level of a suspect?
Because she was a person of interest and possibly setting this up, nobody else put her in the crime.
Okay. Did anybody else put her in the crime later?
A CI eventually did, yes.
Okay. And do you know when that was?
I'm not certain on the date.
Okay. Anyway, was Miss Anethea Clay ever arrested for this crime?
No.
And if I remember correctly, you said Miss Anethea Clay is deceased at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what killed her? Or I shouldn't say. I should rephrase that anyway, because again, do you know how she died?
I do not.
Thank you. I have no further questions, John.
All right. Thank you. Is there any redirect examination?
Ms. Malone, to your knowledge, during this investigation, was there ever enough evidence obtained with which to charge Anethea Clay with being involved in this crime?
No, there was not.
During this investigation, was there enough evidence obtained to charge this defendant with the crime?
Yes, there was.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. So you may step down, ma'am.
Thank you.
Behave yourself. Behave yourself. Behave yourself.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. The state at this point is going to seek to read out to the jury certain portions of a deposition by Paula Belmont given on May 1st of 2019. She was sworn in at that time, swore to tell the truth, and her statements were made under oath to be truthful, and the state has certain portions of that deposition that we feel are relevant for rebuttal.
Just for the jury's understanding, you saw this person's deposition to perpetuate yesterday. That was video and audio tape. This is a separate deposition, but again, it was under oath. There were questions. There was a court reporter and there was a transcript made. It was under oath. So now counsel's being given an opportunity to read certain portions of that deposition for rebuttal purposes.
Thank you, Judge. Again, for the record, this deposition was May of 2019. Questions being proffered to Paula Belmont, May of 2019. Yeah, in dark clothing, I don't remember. It's been a year and a half at least. Question, I understand, but you immediately recognized him when he approached you. Answer, oh yeah. Question, is he the one that stabbed you? Is that right? I won't say stabbed, he cut my neck. Question, he sliced your throat? Yes, my neck. Question, and you're sure it was Rory Wilson? Answer, absolutely, without a doubt. Who else did you see there that night? No one that I can identify. Do you know Ty Tucker? I know him, yes. And you did not see Ty? Not that I can identify. I saw another person, but I can't identify him. Question, can you describe the other person that you saw? Answer, no, because I had Rory Wilson on top of me, pounding the hell out of me. Question, did Rory ever go down the stairs? Answer, they both. The first person went down the stairs and then Rory went right behind him, attacking Matt. The first person was getting Matt from one end, the second person was getting Matt from the other end. Question, and you saw two people, Rory and the other person attacking Matt from behind? Answer, yes, one was in front and one was in the back. Question, and you said initially that you believed that the second person had a billy club. Answer, I think it was Rory. I think it was Rory. Question, you think Rory stabbed Matthew Bonnett? I didn't say that. You just said billy club. That had nothing to do with Rory stabbing Matt Bonnett. Then the question, let me go back. I want to make sure I completely understand your answer. Who had the billy club? Ms. Belmont's answer, I believe it was Rory. Rory had the billy club. Question, did you see any other weapons? Answer, no, I can't. I don't remember. I know at one point a small knife fell. I know at one point that other stick fell, and I believe that is when Roger got it. But you were talking a year and a half ago, and they are memories that I try and hide, so I can't answer that honestly. Question, did you see the second person with any weapons? Answer, I didn't know. I couldn't see the second person until they were going down the steps because I had Rory Wilson on top of me beating the shit out of me. But you said you saw Rory and the second person attacking Matthew Bonnett. Yes.
Mr. Mansfield, I think it would probably be good for the record if we just identified page and lines.
Okay, Judge, that's fine.
So like you started with, you
Yes.
go ahead and. would
That's
you do
fine,
that
Judge.
for
Let me just back up then. So what the state has referred to in the deposition is page 13 and page 14 so
Page
far.
13, lines 1 through 25.
Correct? And page 14, lines 1 through 25.
Now, what's next?
The next one we're going to go to is page 16, line 13. David. I'm
Are
sorry,
you
page
trying
16,
to
line 13. Do you remember what the second person was wearing?
sweeten up here, Lee?
Answer, I couldn't
you trying
see
to
the
sweeten
second
me up
person
for?
hardly at all.
I'm going after some
except he
coffee,
was
you
a
guys. I'll be
uniform
right back.
person. Dark clothing, and it was the second person that said, thank you, David. Dark clothing, and it was the second person that said, I think we killed him. Question, so you heard this second person speak? Yes, I think we killed him is what I heard him say. Now, Judge, I'm going to move to page 18, line 1. Who told you that Ty had something to do with it? Answer, nobody told me. Question, the police didn't tell you that? Answer, no. Well, afterwards, when they arrested him, yes. Okay. Ms. Belmont continues, Not when I was having lunch with him at McDonald's, or I would have been nowhere near him. Question, are you sure that he was involved? Answer, what kind of question is that? I had told you I can't identify him. That person was wearing a mask.
Lee, I haven't left yet. I just saw your comment. So before I go, I have 2 words.
Behave yourself.
So I wasn't the one who identified him. So the question, so the only reason you believe he was involved is because other people have told you that he was, because the police, and she says, answer, because the police arrested him. Okay, are you aware of whether or not any of his physical evidence was found at the scene? Answer, I don't know anything about that. All I know is the police arrested him. And she goes on to say, actually, he himself told me that when we were at McDonald's, he himself told me, oh, the police had found a knife with blood on it, because I said to him, oh, good, it would be my blood. And he said, no, it's Matt's. Whether that was, this is Paula still speaking, whether that was true or not, I don't know. But he himself told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's, that the knife that the police found had Matt's blood.
That's through line 25 on page 18.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The next page I'm referring to is page 19, line 1. And it picks up from where the previous page left off. So he himself told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's, that the knife that the police found had Matt's blood on it. That's what he said. And the question, and you hugged him at McDonald's? Her answer, yes. I was upset, crying because of what Roy did. Not knowing, like I said, not knowing that Ty Tucker had anything to do with it, because I can't identify him as being there one way or the other. That was Paula's response. I can't identify him as being there one way or the other. That line 7 on page 19. The next section that I'll be referring to is page 38, Judge, line 2. Paula's answer to a previous question. There was a scuffle between them, and Roger got thrown into a tarp. I don't believe I said he was beating him. I was the one getting beat, but there was a scuffle between those two, the other person and Roger. And the question, and you saw the second person holding a knife to Roger's throat? Answer, no, ma'am. You did not see that? No, ma'am. You were told that? I was told that by Roger. That is why Roger wasn't helping me. And Roger was the one who told you that the other man had a knife to his throat? Yes, ma'am. But you never saw that. No, ma'am. I couldn't see past Rory Wilson because he was on top of me, beating me for the 3rd time, I have told you.
That's through line 25 on
Yes,
that
sir.
page 38.
Next page, page 54, line 14. The second person this is the question. The second person that you can't identify, do you know whether or not that person was white or black? Answer, I couldn't tell you. Question, okay, only that the person was smaller than Rory Wilson? Answer, yes. And you believe it was a male? Answer, it was a male. And you heard his voice? Answer, yes. Question, but the voice did not sound familiar to you. No, but it wasn't Rory Wilson's voice.
That was through line 25 on page 54.
Page 57, line 18. I may have asked you this. The second person that you can't identify that was there, do you remember what that person was wearing? Answer, dark clothing and a mask. Answer, yes. I'm sorry, dark clothing and a mask. Question, did Rory Wilson have on a mask? Answer, yes. Were the masks the same? I don't know. I didn't get to see the second person. That was line 25, page 57. Moving to page 58, line 1. But you said he was wearing a mask. Answer, yeah. Question, did you see the person? Answer, from the back when he was leaving, his darkness. What kind of mask was it? I don't know. It was dark. The mask was dark, like a hoodie mask, the back of it. I can't tell you anything about it other than that. Those are the statements, Judge, from the deposition given on May of 19 that the state published for purposes of rebuttal.
Anything further by way of rebuttal?
No, sir.
Okay, members of the jury, we've reached one of those points in time where I have to conduct a little bit of business outside of your hearing. If you wouldn't mind going in the jury room for a few minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Oh no, what did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Do I need to rewind it? Did I miss something big?
All right, they're gone.
Help me
So,
out. What did I miss? What did I miss?
just want to get an idea of how the rest of the day is going to unfold here. 3:50, so has Mr. Tucker
Coffee's hot.
received a copy of proposed jury instructions?
I have, Your Honor, but I haven't had a chance to peruse it yet.
Didn't miss anything good.
Packet for the court as well, if you would like it now.
It's all right. I'll get it, but it doesn't have to be right at the moment.
Just let me know.
I'm just trying to gauge whether we're going to be able to do the charge conference this afternoon, which is what I proposed, and ascertain whether Mr. Tucker is ready to address that.
Well, Your Honor, I thought first that we were going to do a renewed motion to.
Well, we are.
Okay.
We are, but, you know, none of it involves the jury. So I thought I would kind of figure out what time to tell them to be here tomorrow and hopefully be more accurate than I have in the past day or so. So what that I have to calculate is how long it's going to take to do a charge conference. If it's going to be contested to any great extent, it's going to take longer than if it's fairly agreed to, fairly well agreed to. So I would like to. Go ahead. I'm sorry, could you speak up, please?
I'm sorry.
You would like to have a chance?
Yeah, no, I'd like to have a chance to go ahead and review that so I can, get with my advisors and try and figure out what I want to do with that.
So that means to me that you do not want to go to a charge conference.
Not this afternoon, if it's all possible, Your Honor. I would imagine if we could go to it tomorrow, that would be great.
May I see now the proposals, please? Yes. It's a pretty thick packet,
That's what I felt.
but that doesn't mean it's complicated. But it is a thick packet.
Yeah, just so the court's aware, I know that some judges.
Yeah, he did, Kel. He has advisors.
Like to read the introduction to homicide. I don't know if any other court would do it. I think that's with discretion. But I did include various times in there, every time we address either manslaughter, second-degree murder, or felony murder rules. So that might make the packet a little lighter.
So again,
Your Honor, I'm definitely going to need time with this just because, okay, I'm looking at it. And yes, I understand you're trying to explain the concepts of some of these things, but my name is used in it over and over and over again in association with crimes I'm not even charged with.
well, it's the norm that the defendant's name appears in jury instructions repeatedly. There's nothing extraordinary about that, but I will give you the overnight to
Thank you.
review it and prepare.
Thank you.
I prefer not to, but I recognize that it's relatively late in the day, and it's in a somewhat complicated.
It looks pretty extensive too, Your Honor.
Well, most of these are standard jury instructions, but there are, there's various questions like lesser includeds. I don't know if you're requesting any lesser includeds. That, and the state is, so that's an issue. A lot of this stuff is pretty standard. Now I'm looking at the robbery instruction. It looks like it's almost in a different format than some of the others. I don't know why we've got all these italicized portions in that, but that's stuff we can work through. The challenge is, in my experience, you go through a charge conference and almost inevitably there's changes that have to be made. It's just almost, unless you have an agreed set of instructions, then there's changes that have to be made. So then I'm just curious, and we don't have to answer this question now, but just food for thought here. Okay, and you do have some interrogatory verdict form for with the weapon and the like. So you did address that point. All right, so we're going to do the charge conference tomorrow, but then we're going to go into closings. I don't like to, have the jurors start deliberating too late in the day. So that means I'd like to, have a focused.
I agree, Tammy. They did get a lot done today. Surprisingly, right?
We can deal with the motion for judgment acquittal this afternoon. So, and presumably, if there's changes, the state has the capability of getting those made fairly expeditiously.
Yes, sir.
And then in terms of, again, I'm just thinking out loud here, trying to plan closing arguments, I'm not going to hold you to it today. I just want to get an idea so I know what to tell the jurors is how much time would you be thinking both of.
So I'm guessing like maybe an hour, hour and a half?
That's a pretty broad range. What was your thought, Mr. Tucker?
I was thinking around an hour, Your Honor.
Well, yeah, hour and a half. That's certainly an hour. I mean, an hour and a half, but it's been a long trial. There's a lot of evidence. We can hone it down, but so that tells me if I tell the jurors to come at 10, that means we have to be here at 9 and ready for business, which I would think an hour for a charge conference should be adequate. So I'll tell them to be here at 10 o'clock and do your homework tonight. I mean, again, you can review them with whoever you'd like to. I would imagine a lot of these are fairly standard, right out of Florida standard jury instructions, but there could be always questions. So anyway, I'm going to tell them 10 a.m. Please ask them to join us.
Ooh, Morgana got the chicken shredded. Yay. What are you going to do with it? I wonder too, Tammy, if he saw if he sees the comments that people, make. Hey Brenda, how are you? She says, "Boy, that is killing the judge to grant that. He just said it wasn't complicated. Now he is saying it is complicated." uh, hmm.
Thank you. Please be seated. Everybody, welcome back, members of the jury. Again, we all appreciate your flexibility, your patience, your attention, participation. We're going to call it a day for the jurors. We're going to remain here, but there's nothing more for you to do this afternoon. The evidentiary portion of the trial is completed, and tomorrow I would anticipate going into closing arguments and final instructions and deliberations. So we'll probably need to do, myself and lawyers, defendant, some work tomorrow morning. So if you be here at 10 o'clock, that would be great. Continuing to follow the cautionary instructions, and have a good evening, and 10 o'clock tomorrow.
It's called Zesty Crockpot Barbecue
So
Chicken.
jurors,
Yum.
so
I know, right, Kel?
have
Verdict
your
watch.
argument. Did you need a few minutes, or are you ready to?
No, I think I could use a few minutes.
Excuse me?
I could use a few minutes, Your Honor.
Okay. But before we take a break, Ms. Knowles, to her credit, is very meticulous and careful when it comes to the exhibits, and she's concerned, as am I, as to exactly, are there other videos on this last, I don't know if that was the last exhibit for the state. I think it was the video. Are there other, what's the number? 20. 20. I mean,
I think there are two other videos on it, Judge, so we're gonna have to transfer that to a single thumb drive in order for it to go in.
well, that
Can we
would
just
be,
delete the other? Actually, somebody much smarter about these things is sitting right here, and she said she can delete the other files and just leave the video that we played for the jury on that thumb drive.
That's fine, Your Honor, as long as it's just that one video.
right. That's what we don't want is, otherwise the only other option we would have, which is not a great option, is to not have it go back into the jury room. And then if they want to see it, tell them they got to come out here while somebody controls it. Whereas if someone who is knowledgeable about these things is able to delete the portions that weren't published, and then the defense can view it, or whatever assurance is necessary, if there is any needed, that it's just what was played, no more, no less. That would solve that concern.
Okay.
So, all right. So what if 4:20, 4:15? What do you want?
4:15 would be fine.
All right. Okay.
What are they going to be doing at 4:15? Let's fast forward it and find out. Yes, I don't know what else they were doing today. They were doing the charging conference in the morning. What would they be doing today? Um, oh, unless he's doing his
So is there motion?
another motion for
Yes, renewed motion for judicial acquittal.
right. Okay.
Any further argument, or you're going to rely on your?
I'm actually going to make a slightly further argument, just because there's been new evidence entered in, I guess. Let's look over a little bit just so the prosecutors can see it. Okay. Your Honor, if I remember correctly, it was a prima facie case is what we're looking at here.
No, actually, that was from the close of the state's case. It's actually the state has to meet a higher burden
Okay.
for when all the evidence is closed. So,
Well, I would submit that the again, if there's a higher burden, I didn't think there was enough. I mean, there was definitely enough for a prima facie case. I would not have challenged your ruling there, sir. But if there's a higher standard, if you're talking about the jury having no doubt, or at least no reasonable doubt, I would submit that there's no way that the state has presented a case that comes close to anywhere close to beyond a reasonable doubt. I would say that because, okay, still we've got, okay, my testimony, we've got Ms. Belmont's testimony. Now, again, we've kind of discussed Ms. Belmont's testimony today. And yes, at different times there were different things she said because of different things. I mean, again, this one in the hospital, yes, she was definitely right out of the crime, I guess. And yeah, she was definitely upset. We don't know if she was on medication. We don't know if any of that stuff, was because of that. Yes, Danielle Malone can testify to what she said, but she can't testify what her state of mind was. Same thing with, again, when we went through the deposition. Now that one, I happen to know her state of mind at the time, just because, again, of reviewing videos and everything else. But yes, there was reasons for that too, and I'll address those in my close if I have to. The thing is, but the state, again, now I just went and testified too, and I don't remember anything in Mr. Mansfield's cross where he tied me into the crime or tied me to a piece of evidence or even impeached any of my testimony. So, I mean, I would imagine my testimony probably weighs as heavily as anybody else's.
Right, Kel, right.
So with that said, I mean,
I
okay,
knocked
we
it
go
out
back
of the
to
park, Judge.
first ones. There was no evidence presented against me from any of the other witnesses except for Travis Johnson. Now, Travis Johnson, again, not only did he change his story when he was on the stand within those 2 days. I remember a couple questions just offhand. I remember, when we asked him if he was not telling the truth about some of his statements, and we went through the whole vacillating thing. And the very next day, he comes in here and completely different answer. He actually says, yes, I wasn't telling the truth. Between the 2 days, again, I would imagine I haven't had a chance to ask him, but I mean, it definitely seemed like he had a discussion with the state about some of his answers. Now, even the vacillating, again, I had to look that up. I have been to college. I'm fairly well educated, and I had to look it up. I didn't know what vacillating even meant at that point. But yet Mr. Mansfield and Travis Johnson both use this word back and forth like it was a common word. I would again submit that, Mr. Johnson probably had a little bit of help with his testimony. Even so, his testimony doesn't match the evidence, and there's some serious inconsistencies in here. Because one of the things that Ms. Paul Belmont says is that Rory Wilson was wearing the same clothes that day that he was wearing that night. Travis Johnson, if I remember correctly, his story was that we go upstairs, change into dark clothes, come downstairs brandishing weapons. So if that's true, then why does Ms. Belmont say she saw and could recognize Rory Wilson? Because he was wearing the same exact clothes he wore that day. Another one is, again, the inconsistencies in the weapons. Again, the state is trying to put the murder weapon in my hand, what we assume is the murder weapon. We always assume that, I guess. Mr. Wilson's already been convicted on that murder weapon, rightfully so. His DNA is on the handle of it. You have both victims' DNA and blood on the weapon. I'm not saying, again, that because again, I understand the principle behind felony murder, but they also haven't put, they haven't given any evidence other than Travis Johnson's word that I was there. And so far, Travis doesn't seem to have had, he doesn't seem to be very truthful, Your Honor, or credible, if I would say. So if he's the only thing that's putting me there, then you'd have to wonder if the jury is going to believe him. Now, again, Mr. Mansfield had a chance with me. He could have went ahead and tried to impeach anything I said up there. He didn't. Not one thing.
Well,
okay.
like that,
I mean,
that's debatable. I mean,
I don't
this
know.
is real life.
I mean, I
It's
don't
The
know.
not
judge
like a
is
Perry
like,
Mason type.
No, I get
what?
it. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to be.
Oh,
It's not a showboat or anything
I
like
know
that.
that. I'm just saying.
this is
that,
not Perry Mason.
he's not most likely Mr. Mansfield or any other lawyer isn't going to somehow or other get you to break down on the witness stand.
No, I didn't expect that.
Yes.
But you would expect if they have all this evidence, enough evidence that they're going to bring me to trial and they're going to go ahead and try and put me on trial for murder, you would expect that he would have at least one thing that he could take from the murder and make me a liar in my story. One, I mean, at least one.
Well, who knows what he might be arguing about?
Well, I mean, look, I gave a story up there that yes, this is what happened to me, and I've never been asked it before until today. As far as my entire story. Again, I've in this entire story. To be honest, I mean, even with when the investigators asked me questions, they asked me questions. I know we didn't testify that,
Oh, what is Tucker's favorite
I've
kind of
never-
boat? A showboat.
never in this entire story.
Cute.
I've ever said has been proven to be untrue. Nothing. And yet here I am.
Oh, hold on.
Now, Mr. Johnson, again, there's plenty of things that are inconsistent.
So QB Design says, I don't know. I didn't get to see the whole thing this morning, but it seems like it may have calmed the judge a bit. He's not jumping him like he normally does. And I agree. He has calmed down quite a bit. But I like angry judge a little bit more than calm judge, only because it's a little more entertaining. But I love whenever he does those big, long, massive sighs, and he's like, well, now, I mean, this isn't Perry Mason here, I thought that was pretty funny. Lee says, okay, I'm back. What did I miss? He is doing another second motion for judgment of acquittal. Kel says, what is Tucker's favorite kind of boat? A showboat. Yes. Yes. Super cute, Kel. I love his size. His size crack me up. He's trying to say the state didn't prove their case. Right. Ace Ventura pet judge. Lord. Okay. So we're gonna continue. Continuing.
Consistencies again. There's nothing that says he's the getaway driver. We went ahead and had Captain Phelps. We played that tape, and and look, at great risk to me, I put that tape up there because I also knew that the statements, the incriminating statements, weren't true. And I'm going to have to address that with the jury in the close if that's what indeed happens. But yes, the only thing said that the only thing that ever said John Travis Johnson was the getaway driver was Captain Phelps. It came right from her. Now, Mr. Mansfield did try and say that Travis offered her, my name without any help from Phelps, and that's completely untrue too. Again, if you want to talk about testimony and going over testimony, I guess, or rehearsing testimony, I don't know. But the thing is yes, when he did that, he asked him, he's like, okay, did she offer, did you offer her Tyrone Tucker's name without being asked by Captain Phelps? No, Captain Phelps, on the other hand, said, we know who the asshole is here. And his answer was, is it Tyrone? That's not exactly saying, hey, Ty did this. That is literally leading a witness into, or leading a suspect into saying it's somebody else. Again, as far as all the evidence goes, there's no evidence other than that. I let the state put in almost every piece of evidence they wanted to, almost everything they wanted, right? Not one of those pieces of evidence has been tied to me, not a single one. The jury's going to be back there looking at all these pictures, nothing in there. There's not a single piece of evidence that Mr. Mansfield actually put to me, not one. So, okay, there's that. And then, okay, I haven't made very many objections, but that's also because, again, there's nothing to object. I mean, they can say their story. I've heard it before. And same thing. The inconsistencies are still there. But John Travis Johnson, his stories are inconsistent at best, right? And again, now we have Miss Belmont. Miss Belmont, yes, we had a few different things. And yes, I'd hoped to have a few more witnesses here. I did. And I'm not going to. That's okay. At this point, I'm not even necessarily sure I need them. Ms. Belmont, yes, she went through different periods of time. Apparently, Mr. Mansfield wasn't made aware of the motion that Your Honor granted, letting us talk and letting us become friends. But other than that, it's like, I could tell you the different reasons why she felt different ways at different times and why, different things happened with Ms. Belmont. There's videos of that too. We discussed putting them on, but again, it wasn't necessary apparently. But
There we go.
there's nothing else, Your Honor. I mean, literally, it comes back down to Travis Johnson. You're talking about one man's word versus
I'm
another.
having fun with
At
these
this
cute
point,
little
none
sounds.
are much more credible than Travis Johnson.
They're entertaining. I need to find a few more.
Unless the state's got something else that they can bring out, something else that they can show the jury to even suggest the story's true.
There's no more evidence.
Okay, well then,
That's the evidence is.
then I would suggest, Your Honor, that there is no way that a jury could look at this case the state put on, and that they could come up beyond a reasonable doubt that I actually did this crime. And whether it be felony murder, whether it be robbery, whether it be any of it. Because again, you can't even put me there other than Travis Johnson. So, I mean, I guess at this point I would defer to the state. I mean, the state, I'm sure, wants to go ahead and be heard.
All right, well, thank you. Does the state want to?
Reasonable minds could evaluate this evidence, and if they believe Travis Johnson, they find it credible, then they would convict this defendant. Now, the defendant says, I'm much more credible than Travis Johnson. Well, that's his opinion on his own testimony, but I submit to the court that the corroborating evidence the state introduced to corroborate Travis Johnson is compelling. And if a juror believes that evidence, they can render a verdict of guilty. As far as him letting us move in evidence, he could have objected if he didn't want to. The evidence that we moved in is the evidence we moved in. At the end of the day, this court and the jury has received good and competent evidence from Travis Johnson, and from Danielle Malone, and from the DNA analyst, and from Dr. Steckbauer, and together the elements of these charges have been proven through these witnesses. Now, the defendant put on the testimony of Paula Belmont, and I submit to the court that testimony has been fairly impeached extensively as to her knowledge of that second assailant who would be this defendant. He says nobody puts him at the scene of the crime, but that's not true. Travis Johnson watches the videos and articulates who is who in these videos that we saw. At the end of the day, we have the defendant, all he's put on is the testimony of Paula Belmont and his own testimony. And then there's obviously the jury instruction that's catered specifically to how to evaluate testimony. And if that testimony, if the person giving it has something to gain from it, certainly the defendant has something to gain from his testimony, and so would Travis Johnson for that regard. But Travis Johnson has been consistent in his statement from the beginning until now, albeit a couple of minor, I guess, changes or inconsistencies. The sum and substance of his story has been consistent from the date of the arrest in 2017 to the date of his proffer in April of 22 to the date of this trial and Rory Wilson's trial. And because of that, Judge, the state would request that you deny the motion for judgment of acquittal.
Your Honor, do I get
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In addressing Mr. Mansfield's claims here, again, we can go back to he wants to say that Travis Johnson is credible and that he hasn't changed his story. That is not true. Travis Johnson has changed his story many times. Again, if we were looking at the videos, he changed his story numerous times. As a matter of fact, he even admitted that instead of vacillating, he was lying when he first told his story, right? Then he goes ahead and oh, wait a second, Captain Phelps comes by, tells him exactly every single detail and every single part of his story. And yet that's the story that the state still presents. But unfortunately, it still doesn't match the other witnesses or the evidence. The evidence does not put the knife in my hand. The DNA puts the knife in Roy Wilson's hand, contrary to John Travis Johnson's story. If you want to go again, even to the other witnesses, Roger Ruggett, 2 skull masks, even Paula Belmont, you want to talk about her and her testimony wavering or vacillating. Yes, she does, but she never says, not a single witness in this case has ever said a neck gaiter with Jägermeister all over it, which you would think is fairly recognizable. They want to talk about a beard being recognizable. Well, guess what? So is a Jägermeister neck gaiter, I would imagine would be too. Again, I don't see anything in here where John Travis Johnson, and I'll tell you what, even his behavior up on the stand, he played really well with the whole innocent getaway driver thing for a little while. But yeah, when he gets upset, it shows. And the other thing is, he also says that in 2017, he was sober. But then he also goes ahead and says, wait a second, I'm doing all this dope. I'm smoking crack. I'm doing all this other stuff. That doesn't sound sober. Then you also have, beyond that, okay, not sober. And then you talk about his story, again, core to his story. How many times did he say, I did it for $50 worth of gas money? $50 worth of gas money. Now, again, comes back on stand, and this is in the same, by the way, in the same cross, he goes ahead and says, at first it's $50 of gas money. Now it's because, and I would imagine this is true, because he wants to get high. That's different. So Mr. Mansfield, he wants to say that he hasn't materially changed his story. He has materially changed his story, but he also doesn't match the other witnesses. He doesn't match the other evidence. Roger Ruggett says 2 knives, okay? That doesn't match John Travis Johnson's story. Now, Paula, again, she has varying stories, and I would submit there's reasons for that, but again, it doesn't match John Travis Johnson's story. Now, John Travis Johnson, sure, he could come up with all that other stuff. He could drive you. He could literally draw you a map man for the route. He can literally go ahead and map out I would imagine he could probably map out the whole crime. That would be easy to do if you were actually there. I don't see where John Travis Johnson would have a problem doing that. He's admitted he was there. He's admitted to his deal. Yes, he's getting, you talk about a sweetheart deal, 5 years.
Judge, we're going beyond an argument for judgment of acquittal here.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
to some extent.
Okay.
I think,
I'll comment
Mr.
back.
Tucker, you're
I'll comment down.
probably tipping your hand for your closing argument.
Not
but,
necessarily.
I guess that's not a mystery what some of the things in your closing is going to be, but
Thank you, sir.
you're getting into quite a bit of detail here.
I'll address one other thing. He challenges my story, right? And he says, because I have interests in this. I didn't take a deal, Your Honor. I could have. I didn't take one. John Travis Johnson did.
Yeah,
And
I'm aware.
you talk about what
those
I have to gain.
prospective decisions.
Well, I mean, what I have to gain from this, that's what Mr. Mansfield.
Well, yeah, of course, that's one of the things that any witness is, one of the considerations is what do they have to gain,
Gain.
what's at stake?
Yes, and what do I have to lose, Your Honor? I have a lot to
Your
lose too.
freedom.
I do, and for the rest of my life, Your Honor.
Yes,
Not
sir.
just for a little while, less of my life.
But that's making that point. is-
I'm just saying, I didn't have to do this, but I am. And the reason I have my personal reasons for doing this, but it has nothing to do with, I want to gain this. If it was, again, some kind of payment or something like that, I could understand. But no, no, I'm doing this because I have my own moral reasons for doing this. But again, that's what I submit. Again, you want to talk about who's more credible, who's not. It boils down to, at this point, whether or not you believe me, whether or not you believe John Travis Johnson, whether or not you believe Paula. But I mean, there is no physical evidence. And he brought in, and this is one thing I do need to address. He brought in Dr. Steckbauer, which I don't know how that proves the state's case, because it is.
Well, in a homicide case.
I mean, it proves it was a homicide, but it doesn't.
You're going to have the medical
No,
examiner.
I get that, but okay, how does that tie me into the case? How is that proof against me?
There's an old saying in the law that every hit doesn't have to be a home run. It takes many bricks to build a wall. So
I've heard that too.
That certainly wasn't a home run, but it's all part of a case that's put together that may or may not succeed ultimately.
Well, no, I understand,
but
Your Honor.
you've got to be able to look at that basic process.
I understand, Your Honor, but there's also an old legal term that I've heard before
Well, tell
too.
me, what is it?
A brick is not a wall.
Okay,
A brick is not a wall.
right.
Okay, they have a brick. They don't have a wall. And again, so, yes, okay, yes, Dr. Steckbauer is part of the case. I would never deny that. And his testimony is definitely valid towards the case. It's valid to say somebody got murdered. This is how they got killed. I don't debate that at all. Same thing with the DNA analyst. Now, the DNA analysts, we covered the whole inconclusive results and how I said they were being used as a positive by the state. That is not the same thing as positive results. And even in that testimony, things that they were trying to use as inconclusive as positives weren't even things that were put into evidence. You're talking about the gloves. You're talking about the sweatshirt. That stuff, man, wasn't even found at the crime scene. Had nothing to do with the crime. At least that we
I'm
know.
kind of enjoying this little back and
But
forth
anyway,
between him and the
point is,
judge.
Your Honor, yes, I understand why they're important to the investigation. I understand that. But I want to know how that proves that I had something to do with their charges. How does that prove their case?
Well, I'm not going to make their closing argument for him, and I'm not going to make your closing
No.
argument
I
for you.
wouldn't expect you would.
I used to be a trial lawyer for many years. I've tried many a criminal case and homicide cases. So I know a lot of your questions are rhetorical in
Yes.
nature, but as I sit here, I have my understanding and ideas. So in any event, thank you.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
So it is a different standard for this motion. We discussed quite a bit for the close of the state's case, prima facie case. Now it's analysis of the entire evidentiary record, the totality of the evidence, and the judge has to ask himself or herself, does that or can that support a verdict of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt by a reasonable juror? Is it so devoid of convincing, persuasive evidence that no reasonable juror could find the defendant guilty? And if that's the case, then the judge would rule as a matter of law that there's an acquittal right here and now. So, Mr. Tucker, you're obviously very, very knowledgeable about this case. Very conversant, very knowledgeable. As we kind of alluded to during your argument in the States, and I'm going to look at just one of these jury instructions because you and the state mentioned it. It's 3.94. And the actual verbiage is, did the witness have some interest in how the case should be decided? So, did Mr. Johnson? Yes. Do you? Yes. I mean, and that's the point. The jurors can consider that along with a lot of other things, but that's one of the factors. Another jury instruction, again, part of 3.9, weighing the evidence. And it came up in jury selection, interestingly enough. Whether the state has met its burden of proof does not depend upon the number of witnesses it is called or upon the number of exhibits it is offered, but instead upon the nature and quality of the evidence presented. So you obviously feel that the nature and quality of the evidence is weak, shaky, whatever adjective you want to use, and state has a different take on it. I will readily acknowledge you have a lot to argue. And you touched upon some of those things in your argument here. And I'm not going to sit here and say that you don't have a lot of things to argue. But I believe that ultimately the evidentiary record is such that I couldn't and wouldn't and be mistaken to rule as a matter of law that it should be taken from the jury's hands, because I believe, depending upon the credibility determinations that they make, that there could be a guilty verdict, and is and would be supported by the evidence. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I readily acknowledge your arguments, but I'm going to deny the motion based upon the finding that I've made. So we go forward. Again, please study these jury instructions. If you have any objections or specials or additionals, that's the kind of thing that we do in a charge conference. I basically work from my Florida standard jury instructions here, as well as the proposals. Some of these, I assume a lot of them come right from the Supreme Court.
Pretty much
website.
QB Designs.
They all do.
They all, okay. So, that means there's standard jury
I'm not even
instructions
gonna
that
lie, I was a
doesn't
little bit
mean that-
nervous there for a minute. I was afraid. I mean, not afraid. I was like thinking, oh my God, is he gonna say?
Objections?
Huh.
All I'm saying is that's kind of the starting point. So you do need to be prepared to, if there are any objections or additions or the verdict form you find to be objectionable or in need of change, those are the things that we talk about during charge conference. So I think we have ample time, and if there's changes, then they can be made, and actually, I think the arguments could start even while the changes are being made. But having said that, I mentioned the length for closing. We're still somewhere between hour and a half. But and I guess, unless there's, I give each side an hour and a half. It doesn't mean you have to use it all, but what I don't want to happen is to say, get to an hour and have someone look up to me, either defendant, defense counsel, or the state, and say, Judge, I need more time. I'd much prefer to be a little liberal at the beginning, so we know that when the time is up, that's it. So hour and a half, but that's the max. The state gets to go first and last. Total amount of time is the same, but the defendant's sandwiched in between. You get the same amount of time. They're going to make a rebuttal argument. The total time has to be equal. You don't have to use it all, but the maximum is equal. So, unless there's something else, we'll be here at 9, and hopefully have a smooth charge conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that went much smoother than I thought. Went way smoother than I thought that it would. Crazy, right? My goodness gracious. So, yeah, me too, Lee. I thought, oh my God, he is literally going to say, yes, on the acquittal thing. I was thinking, oh my God, is he really going to do this? And, but then, it was a no. uh, yeah, he did say he has arguments for it. Um, QB Design says, dang, okay, I hope Tucker don't let it go to his head, right? I'm sure he will. He's going to be leaving there today thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer. Watch this dude get out or get out of this with nothing and then be found not guilty and then turn around and go to law school. Watch him do that. Lee said, okay, once the jury gets it, time bets. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm gonna say less than. It depends. It depends on when they get the case. If they get it, um, so the charging conference is in the morning. They're gonna be ready for closings tomorrow at 10. Jury instructions. Um, I say they could potentially have it tomorrow night. I mean, if they end up going over, then not overnight, but like leaving and then coming back the next day, oh, then they might go to lunchtime or something. But I think it's going to be a quick one. There's not much evidence. I think they probably all have pretty much got their minds made up. Steph says, and then he gets a documentary show about how he started his career beating his own case, right? QB Design says, I don't know. That judge has changed his tune. From what I saw of this morning, Tucker called him out and wasn't necessarily off base. Mm. It'll be a 652-part series. Lee says, yeah, but you stop the clock and restart it. Lee says, I say within 12 hours. Oh yeah, you do. I mean, say if they I thought you meant they like restart the clock back at 0 again on the next day. I was gonna say they uh stop it and then resume the clock. I'm yawning again, you guys. Stop it, Jenny. But it will always be late, Steph. Right, it will. It'll always be late. You'll be watching the 652-part series, and then 30 minutes of it is going to be waiting on the show to start, right? Like the show, you can, start it, but then you have to fast forward 30 minutes on every episode to get to the start of it. Hmm. Do I need to start the No, you don't. To wake me up. No, no, no. You don't. You don't. You don't. Barbecue says Steph the QB Designs. You crack me up. So, Oh, what was I gonna say? Hold on a minute. Let me turn this on. I'm sitting here with these on because I was diamond painting somewhat. And I've got this. How did this part happen right here in the middle of my head? I don't even have a middle part. Like what? Hold on. That's gonna get on my nerves. Sorry. So, yes, we're doing Scott Peterson again tonight. Um, oh my goodness, really QB Designs. She said I was on the phone and then you yawned and then I yawned and the person I was on the phone with yawned. Oh, QB Design says I thought I was the only one that doubled up. No, see, I got reading glasses. I got like the no line bifocals, but I can't. I tried a few weeks with them, but I couldn't wear them. So I have to wear my regular glasses and then reading glasses to diamond paint. I say 3.5. We'll have to take a voting poll tomorrow. I'll have to start the poll, have it ready to go when they get the case. So, yeah. But tonight, Scott Peterson, trying to think. We've been doing 8:45. Um, I'm not sure what time I want to make it. Yeah, we'll make my final decision then. Yeah. I'm not sure what time I want to make tonight, the live tonight, because it's almost 6. And it probably will not be as late as it had been the last couple times. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't go a little bit earlier too. Steph says earlier than 8:45. Okay. Um, well, let me chat with JB's mama and Morgana, and see what their thoughts are, as far as time, even if it's something where they might have to hop in a little bit afterwards after it started. Um, but yeah, so I'll have to see because uh, live that normally happens tonight is not happening if that makes a difference. Mm. Elizabeth, she's not going live tonight. It is a yawny kind of day, Brenda. It is. It's been just cloudy and rainy, and I've been yawning all day. Hmm. QB Design said I said nothing. Uh-oh. Lee says I'll go on standby. Yeah. Dawn says earlier too. Yeah. I'm trying, Morgana. Morgana, does time make a difference for you? Steph says start prepping food now, Lee. Okay, so they're not going live tonight. It's on their Facebook. Okay. Um, all righty. Gee, oh, that my eyes are starting to water now. It's those big yawns that like swallows your whole face, you know? and then your whole face disappears and your eyes water. And Morgana, I so JB's mama, she has to put her kiddo to sleep at a certain time, and she don't, you know, want to. I kind of want to. I don't know. She already shredded her chicken. What else does she got to do? Yeah, I know, Lee. We gotta have supper, and I gotta get some laundry in and some dishes done, and stuff. So it's difficult whenever I'm gonna have to figure something out because I can't do um like full on all day live streams and then long late night ones too. That's too hard. I mean, I'm enjoying it right now, but it's going to get old quick. So, Morgana says, I'm okay with whatever time you want. Earliest I can see it happening is 8. I'll be there either way, but I'll probably sleep late tomorrow again because I get up at 5:30. Steph said I was hoping 7:30 or 8. Well, we've been doing 8:45. Maybe we can shoot for 8 my time, but that would be 7 JB's mama's time. And so I think she said 7:30 her time, which was 8:30 my time. But I'll chat with her and see. But I agree. I would like to do a little bit earlier. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to wake up first. I've got coffee. Coffee is just not doing me any favors today. Anyway, so you guys, um, Lee says you should schedule the evenings only 1 to 2 days a week to avoid all day, half the night burnout. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out something. The thing is I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm really enjoying that part of it. Um, so and figure something out too because with the pizza delivery murder trial that you guys are wanting to start, that one is I will, Morgana. I'll let you know. Um, I'm in trouble. She called me Jennifer. Oh my god. Morgana cracked me up. She meant Jenny. She meant Jenny. Um, mm, yeah, I mean, I kind of thought about that too, QB Designs, but I really want weekends to just, you know, we did some stuff over the weekend on live stream, but I really just kind of want to keep weekends, more family. Yeah, rightly. Yeah. Um, but that's another idea. I don't know. We'll have to just play it by ear and see. I mean, this is all new, the um the nighttime chatty ones, or discussion ones. But yeah. So anyway, um it auto-filled. Okay. I got you. Sure. No. I don't know about that, Morgana. I think you were just like Jennifer. Jennifer, Jennifer, Jennifer. That was her way of yelling at me. All right, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, all day. I'm going to go and we'll see you guys later tonight. Okay. We will I'll say just somewhere between 8:45 ish, right around in there somewhere. Okay. What's up for discussion in Scott's case? I want to do some research. So tonight, last night we talked about, because there's 4 different things that they're looking at for evidence. They're wanting to look at the witnesses stuff from um, the people that saw Lacey walking the dog. Um, and then they're also looking at the stuff from the burnt van. They're looking about stuff from the robbery across the road from them, and then also into the pond, potentially lost watch that belonged to Lacey. Those are the 4 big things they're looking at. So last night we talked about the witness statements that of the people that saw Lacey walking the dog. And like all of them were saying things like the police like didn't get back with me, blah blah blah. Um, and then tonight we're going to talk about the witness statements who said that they saw the dog Mackenzie running around the neighborhood by himself. So, yeah, we stopped at P. I have it right here. I have it taped onto my computer. So yeah, we did talk about the van for a little bit, but we actually started about um, the witness statements, that all those different witness statements that saw her walking the dog. So yeah, yes, JC, we did it last night, but tonight it's going to be somewhere between 8:45 Eastern Standard. So okay, be cool to see you. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. I love you guys. Yeah, we did talk about the van. That van, crazy pants, right? All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, the video. Bye.